This episode is brought to you by BoxDrop Norfolk. BoxDrop Norfolk carries the best quality mattresses and furniture at the lowest price. They get truckloads of new overstock couches and mattresses at a great price and pass the savings on to you. They are a family-owned and operated business. Nate, Rebecca, and daughter Natalie keep their overheads low so they can price these all below retail. The mattresses and furniture are all new and come in limited quantities. Selection may vary. Message them on Facebook. Come check them out. Save some money. Mention you heard about them from this podcast episode. Drop the name Touching Base. Get an extra $30 off.
This episode is brought to you by Farm Bureau Financial Services, Zach Miller Agency. If you're looking for an insurance agent with a personal touch, someone willing to have the real conversations about what's important to you, assistance with submitting claims, and offering quality coverage options, Farm Bureau Financial Services, Zach Miller Agency may be the place for you. Whether you need home, auto, farm, commercial, life, or health insurance, we're here for you. Check us out at agentzachmiller.com. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agriculture Insurance Company.
My next guest is the owner of BoxDrop Norfolk. Nate, thanks for making time to be here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
No problem. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Nighting.
Nice to meet you, Nate.
You as well.
And we are touching base with Nate. Is it Armstead?
Mm-hmm.
Nate Armstead today. You've been a fan of the podcast for quite a while.
Yep. Started listening to some of your early ones. Sam and I worked out at the Y together. I worked there for a bit. And then Dr. Nuno that came on, he's come into our store before, and I've got to know him through it. And
yeah, so this has been a long time coming. That was a year ago. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah. I'd say that's where I was looking back. I'm like, oh man, there's some episodes I got to catch up on, but it's been a crazy year for us. So
yeah, I'm sure. So we always like to get a little background on everybody first, especially with your first time being on. Where are you originally from?
So originally I would claim Wisconsin. So that's where, and I always joke, my story starts with my parents, obviously. My mom's from Wisconsin. Her whole side of the family is from Wisconsin. My dad's side of the family is all from California. And so it's like, well, and this is early 90s, late 80s. How did they meet? Well, they actually, from their separate colleges across the country, went on like a foreign, they did university or 1 year of college overseas. And so they actually went to Israel. So the land of Israel, did a whole year of college there. I joke they should make a Hallmark movie off of it because my mom was engaged prior to leaving. She leaves, she gets unengaged there. My mom and dad get together and come back and get married in America and do that. So then after they came back to college, my dad just came to the college that my mom was at. And he went there to play some football, just a small D3 in Wisconsin. And that's actually where I went to college as well. But went there, and then when they graduated, they moved up by my mom's parents. My dad worked in the woods as a logger. Mom mostly stay at home, taught us. We were homeschooled for a lot of our younger years. But actually, when I was 10, we started. My parents always wanted to go back to Israel. They absolutely loved it there. And so when I was 10, we started getting like some supporters and different things like that to allow us to go back there. And my dad actually worked as a football coach over in Israel. So we spent a few years just gaining some support, and then we moved over there when I was 14.
Really?
So I spent, again, a little bit of my younger years in Wisconsin, but then we were all over the country, and then while gaining some support, and then went over to Israel and lived there, and I was there when I was 14. So
For how long?
So I moved over there at 14, and then I was there until the start of my senior year.
Okay.
And then came back and came to play football in America. So I went to actually California, where my dad was from. Small school out there, so I could play football because I hadn't been a part of the public school system. So if you go to sometimes bigger schools, if you're not known in the community, you're not going to play.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to get to play out there, and so that's where I went. And yeah, it was pretty neat. Football's been kind of our life for a lot of years now, with my dad coaching. And so over in Israel, it was an adult league. So it was like semi-pro adult football. And we had a lot of fun with that. It was definitely a learning experience, getting a lot of culture shock living living in another country, wishing you had a cheeseburger and not being able to get one. And it was a lot of fun. I got to practice with the adults. So playing against adults as a 15 and 16-year-old, but couldn't play because I wasn't 18 in that league. So it was a lot of that. And it was it was a good experience for me because I learned a lot about football and a lot about how you had to get good leverage. Otherwise, you were going to get sat on by whoever the big guy was.
I always call it half a man. Always if you're smaller, take on half a man.
Yeah. Well, and I was, if anything, because I wasn't playing, I was the practice dummy. So, like I was the tackling dummy when they're trying to learn to tackle and all that type of stuff too. And I mean, we're using whatever soccer field we can get our hands on. I mean, here football is so much more king. There, obviously, soccer or football would be king, and so because of that, it was like, we always got the terrible fields in the corner of corner of a field of soccer. It was
you weren't playing on gravel or anything, were you?
Sometimes I've probably got some skin graft stuff going on just from those because it was getting just pushed around and all that. So,
which school out in California did you go to then?
So it was Hayfork High School in the town of Hayfork. It's west of Redding, way in the north. So we're only about like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Oregon. So very far north.
Beautiful country.
Yes. And still pretty sane, which is for the most part. I guess that area is pretty heavy marijuana country.
As sane as it can get up there, yeah.
It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so it was a neat high school. I mean, the graduating class that I was a part of was 24 people.
So you only went there for your senior year then, right?
Okay. Yeah. I should preface that my freshman year, we were in that area before we went over to Israel. And so I actually got to play the football season. It was kind of like just a homeschooler that was able to play type of thing. So played my freshman year and then was gone sophomore, junior, and then came back for my senior year.
Okay.
And so, and actually the senior year, by the end of the season, I'd actually started screwing up my shoulder. It would start popping in and out of socket, but I didn't really know. And you're young and you just keep playing. And so I finished my football season out there and then was able to actually do like satellite school. So I went, as soon as I finished that season, I went right over to Israel. And now I was old enough to play in the adult league. And so I finished one season. A month later, I'm playing another full season of football.
Jeez.
It was a ton of fun. It was weird though, because in high school football, we were really good. Like we didn't lose my senior year.
Yeah.
And then in California, it's too big to have a state championship. So conference was all we had.
Right.
Won our conference championship, got to Israel and lost like all but one game, I think, there. So it was like totally going from winning everything to losing everything. But by the end of that, like I couldn't even hardly lift my arm before it like
I'm
popped
sure.
out of
What'd you play
socket.
then? Position?
So I played pretty much everywhere. In the high school I was at, small school, again, if you weren't super fast, you weren't playing receiver. And quite honestly, and that's what I wanted to play. Receiver, also never got the ball. So I actually played center. I'm not a very big dude, but I played center and then defensive end.
Okay.
So my senior year that we were there, we were actually down to 8-man football for the whole conference.
I was just going to ask if it was 11-man or not.
No, it was 8-man by that point. 11-man my freshman year, and we were a wishbone team. So it was kind of smash mouth football. And so they tried to keep some of those aspects as an 8-man team.
Gotcha.
And actually at the time they hadn't like regulated field size. So we were still on 100 by 50.
Oh.
So 8-man football, it was just fast, high scoring, lots of yards, lots of
entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining. And then I played defensive end on defense, which really is like an outside linebacker on most 3-4 defenses. So it was just a lot of contain, and you might have 30 yards of being just like the outside contain man on that. So it was
right.
It was, as some coaches I've heard put it, and I've really agreed with that, 8-man football is a really great avenue for football for high schoolers because it makes you a more well-rounded athlete. You just have to play. You can't be hidden in a football scheme. Or 11-man, you can do a little bit of that as a coach and all that if you know how to scheme it correctly. But 8-man, there's no hiding anyone.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be an athlete and play. So did that. Did a year of high school in Israel, which was entertaining. Had a language school, basically, is what it was my junior year. And so our first teacher, she only spoke Russian and Hebrew.
Oh.
And so we were trying to learn Hebrew and not understanding a word of it at all because she didn't speak any English. So for the first 2 months, we never even knew when she switched from Hebrew to Russian because half the class was Russian speaking and half the class was English speaking, though they weren't American.
Sounds similar too, right? As you speak it or no?
Well, her Russian or her Hebrew was very Russian accented, so we really couldn't tell the difference. But yeah, that was quite entertaining. Second semester, we got a native-born Hebrew or a Jewish person there, and it was a lot easier to understand. We advanced quicker.
I'm sure.
But
so you speak Hebrew then?
Not anymore. I go back every once in a while. My parents aren't there anymore, but I go back every once in a while, and it's fun to see people we knew. And as they start talking, I'm like, I'm following conversations again and laughing at jokes a little bit more.
That's good. That's good. That's a crazy start to the story.
Yeah, it's been a great life. It's been a crazy life so far. It's been an interesting kind of getting here is where it's at.
And you went to college in California too then?
No, I've been to Wisconsin, the same one that my parents finished up at. So that was
I got
Maranatha.
confused on that, sorry.
Yeah, Maranatha Baptist University over in Watertown, Wisconsin. And I went there for football too. So I wanted to go play Division III football. I wasn't going to be recruited or scouted anywhere. I wasn't putting enough on tape and had such a weird high school for football. So there I got to play outside linebacker and slot receiver. Freshman year, I was behind our two best guys, so I wasn't playing, but I was learning a lot about college program. And then by the sophomore year, by the end of it, my shoulder started doing it again.
Yeah.
So I had shoulder surgery 1 year after high school and before college. So I waited 1 year to go.
Gotcha.
And then, by the end of that, it was so done. Like I couldn't be a help to the team or myself. It was no fun. And so I actually had the privilege then of finishing out my last 2 years. The coach, we got a new head coach, and he really took me under his wing, which was really cool. And so I actually got to help coach. So I got to be an assistant coach, and over the course of 2 years, he started trusting me enough to kind of help coach the offense and be an assistant offensive coordinator. And even I got to call a couple quarters of football when we were down by too much in the fourth quarter. It didn't really matter at that point, but hey, I got to coach. So
it's fun.
It was fun.
What'd you go? What was your degree?
So I went sports management.
Okay.
I wanted to go into football coaching. I wanted to do a lot of that. And I wish someone would have told me go be a PE teacher or do something in education, because that would have been the route to go.
Right.
But I always liked business more. And so I was like, I can try to get the best of both worlds, not knowing that when you get out, the schools want you to be part of their school system if they're going to have you coach at any sort of level. So graduated with a 4-year degree in sports management from that school over there. And met my wife right before senior year. And we started dating and all that. And then when I finished, because she'd already finished, I moved down here because I didn't really have anything lined up or any sort of job going or anything. So,
what brought you here?
Would have been her. So in college, and actually right before college, I actually worked at a summer camp. So that was the job I did for six years while at college, a little bit before, a little bit after. And we met there. So she's from Battle Creek. She's a Brady Hoff from Battle Creek.
Oh.
And so she was up there working at the camp as the nurse, and I was there my sixth summer as just working wherever they wanted me to at this point. And we started dating, and then moved down here when I finished up, and then we got engaged and married a little over 7.5 years ago.
How far is that from here then, up to where you guys were at?
9 hours.
9 hours.
Yeah.
That's a far way to go to for a summer camp from Battle Creek.
Yeah, I mean, she'd been to a lot of different camps throughout her thing, and it's a Christian camp.
Gotcha.
Straight up. So, I mean, that kind of limits, like, how many camps there are around and all that. So, it was a Christian camp, summer camp, and a lot of fun there.
Well, that's really cool. So, moving up to that, let's move from when you got here.
Okay. So,
job-wise.
I came here in the end of 2017. I tried to get on in sports management. I really wish someone would have told me, hey, your job isn't to pass all these classes, it's to land a job when you're done, because I had to focus more on that. But I came down here. I tried to get on at like the YMCA at the time, and they weren't really looking for anything full-time. I hit up pretty much every gym around town that I could find. I'm like, hey, I got a degree in this, love an interview. No one was hiring. Couldn't really find anything around there, and no one knew me. I didn't know anyone. And so I actually started at the Community Pride Care Center over there as a cook. That's where my wife works as a nurse, so she's there. And started there as a cook. I didn't know a lot about cooking, but you learn quick, and I enjoy food, so it was fun. Come to find out, I enjoy cooking.
Good.
I was there for about a year and 4 or 5 months, and then went to Power Sports Nation. And so then from there, I was an assistant warehouse manager there, and so worked in warehousing and helping get their inventory sorted. And that's actually where I met Nick Wildman there.
Yep.
And I worked with him some just because I was doing a lot of the inventory stuff and trying to make sure inventory would match. And
so you were screwing up the system, and he'd have to come help you.
I was trying to undo that. Yeah, it was a little bit of both. But he had to fix some of the stuff we were working on a lot. So, yeah, but no, great place to work. I really, really appreciated working there. And actually, as I started there, about 3 months in, actually, the Y had opened up a job as a sports director, and a secondary sports director. And I applied and got a ways into the interview process. But I had no Y experience. So I'd never been at a Y or anything, and another person had. And so they came in like August of, I can't remember which year, but August of that year. And they only stayed for about 8 months. They'd come in from out of the area and just really wanted to go home from everything I understood. And so because of that, they actually came calling back to me. And so about 1 year and 4 months at Power Sports Nation, I got the job at the Y, which was really cool because I liked working at Power Sports Nation, but I was finally in my career field
Right.
that I'd went to school for in 4 years. I'm like, I don't want to be that statistic that like never made it when I had the opportunity in front of me. So, yep, got to know Sam more there and work with Justin, who's now the CEO there, and he's a good guy.
I don't think I know Justin. I saw that name come across, and I don't think I've ever met him. I'd have to look that up. I'm a face guy, so I gotta match a face to name, but I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, you have to. Justin's really cool. He'd actually be one maybe for the podcast too, if you can convince him to.
Okay, I want to get Randy on too. So he's on the list, and now I'll have to get them both on.
Yep.
Get the different perspectives.
Right, especially since Justin's been there, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or something like that, and he helped with a lot of the projects there. So yep. But anyway, worked there at the Y, was sports director, running youth sports, adult sports, a lot of organizing teams and finding refs and trying to find refs so you didn't have to ref yourself. And it was a lot of. I found out that like sports management, you're doing sports. When do people do sports? When they're not at work. So what does that mean? A lot of nights and weekends.
Yep.
And so it became something where I'm like, I really worked hard at it, but it was really hard to be there and not be at home too. And like, that's when your wife's off and all that. So had a lot of fun, really enjoyed doing it, and would probably still be doing it to this day, if not for COVID. So COVID came around obviously in 2020. I'd heard about BoxDrop, which is what we're doing now, in February of 2020. And I was like, oh, this sounds really cool and all that. Like I dabbled in little business things, side hustle type stuff, and never really took anything off the ground. But I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Be neat. But I'm finally where I went to school for. Like, this is what I want to do. I'm enjoying it. I haven't even quite been there a full year yet. Like, I feel like I should be there longer.
Give it a little more time.
Give it a little more time. And then like a month later, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. You know, like all of our youth sports is done for the foreseeable future. Our adult sports is done for the foreseeable future. No one's able to come to the Y. And the Y was awesome. They didn't let any of us go or anything like that. We were able to stay on. And with that, we just kind of shifted around so that we were doing something and not just nothing for 6-7 months. Mm-hmm. And so I helped out in maintenance and had a lot of time on my hands on lawnmowers and weed eating. And I started listening to business podcasts a lot more again, and found that, you know what, this was maybe the time that we wanted to take a shot at starting this and jump all in. Because a lot of my side hustles, it's like, well, I kind of committed to, kind of had that fear of failure, but also like fear of success. Like, hey, if I put this out there and it works way better than I can, like, how am I going to do this? And so it was a little bit of both. And I just never took the chance until I finally fully committed to it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about BoxDrop here in a second. But speaking of your wife, you guys have a few kids, correct?
Yep. So we have 3 now. We have one.
Why do you have 3?
Well, we have twins. They're 3 months old today. So 3 months ago today, we were having twins, and 2 girls more. So we have 3 girls in total. Such a blessing. They're a lot of fun. Twins has been a lot of fun. Like, it's really busy. Like I won't downplay it at all. It's busy. It's hectic. It's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. There's always something going on, something to do. One of them that's either crying or happy or laughing or whatnot. And so we're having a ton of fun. I tell people, though, I don't wish it on anyone, but I'm having fun.
How did that change your life?
Oh, it's been pretty crazy the last few months. And this year in general, I mentioned, has been crazy in general. And to add to it, now we're throwing twins into the mix. And so my wife's her first day back to work was today. So it's been rough for her, too.
I'm sure.
She was not ready to go back. And I've been trying to just figure out ways to like not have to have her go back. But some of the decisions we've made this year with housing and all that is kind of be like, okay, you're going to have to go back for at least a few more years unless I can keep just seeing the growth in the business, which is what I'm pushing for, so that she can be home if she wants to. At least till they get to school age, or more school age, I should put, and then she can go back if she wants to.
How did having the original child change your life?
That was a big deal for us. And I should preface it all with this too, is that we knew before we got married that we were going to have fertility issues. And so like that was a big thing right away. So we wanted to give ourselves some time after being married just to be married. And so we did that. And then 2 years in, we started going through the fertility stuff, which is not cheap. And insurance doesn't cover anything with it. And it just, because it's all elective. And so, I mean, the first go around with Natalie was just, I mean, we were about ready to quit because I think we'd spent $25,000-$30,000 just trying to have her. Thankfully, we were always really frugal with our money, had cash flowed everything. And so we didn't take any debt out on that one, actually any of the children. But then we had our first one, which was awesome. And we're like, okay, let's try to get year 2 in and let's go for this again. And so then we did it again. And the year gap is about 5 years between them because 2 years in, we kept trying. We've kind of had a number of unsuccessful attempts, which are heartbreaking. And we were kind of, again, like, okay, we give it one more go.
Right.
And then we're just going to take a break and maybe focus on just life stuff that we try to knock out and then maybe try again in a year or so. Because, again, we're having to save a bunch of money up before each trying for all this. And so, anyway, this one starts looking positive. It looks like this could possibly work. And then however the time frame worked out, I went out to my parents out in Colorado for a ski trip. And like, I get one day into the ski trip and she's like, I was just at the doctor's. You need to come back now. We've got to start this now. Otherwise we could have one unsuccessful or a lot of kids.
Right.
And so we came back, and even on the day they do the whole procedure was like, okay, you've got a 10% chance of 3 or more kids, 40% chance of twins, and a 50% chance of 1. And then obviously there's always a chance of none. Yeah. But it was like, okay, so we did the procedure, all that type of stuff, and then ended up getting pregnant and came in 2 weeks later. I was like, all right, first ultrasound. All right, please let there not be more than 2. And so she's like, oh, there's 1, there's 2. And I'm like, okay, there's no more, right? We don't want a reality television show.
And this is all. End up with 7, you could have your own show.
Oh, I don't want to be Nate plus 8. What was that? Kate plus 8 was the old TLC one or something.
Yeah.
So Nate plus 8 was not happening. I was hoping. But anyway, so yeah, it was twins there, and then it's been really good. And
are you guys done?
Not sure.
Sure.
I would say probably yes, because it's just been so grueling the last few years, and we've just got so much going on now too that we're probably content with 3.
It's nice to get 2 in one shot.
Yeah, it was our money's worth. I was like, I got my money's worth.
Buy one, get one free sale.
Right, it just needed to be. So so that's actually been one of the big blessings about Becca having a good job as a nurse, and then the business having taken off was a really big push for us to be able to do a lot of this because, again, it's just a lot of money, and so it's just difficult to do all that. And so we'll see. I mean, right now we have 3 months old. We're kind of like, let's give this some time. We may rediscuss this in a year or 2. And not that we wouldn't mind having more. It's just, what does that look like? So,
right.
I don't know yet.
Right. That's really cool. I'm glad. Everything's healthy. Everything's good.
Yep. Everyone's doing great.
Good.
So yep. Healthy, happy, everything like that. It was just a struggle to get pregnant.
Right.
Everything else has been easy.
Good.
That.
Do you, before we get into your work stuff, do you have any like fun hobbies or anything that you like to do in the limited time that you get?
So I have a few. I absolutely love golfing. Golfing is probably
right
the thing
I
do the most right now, just because it's easy and available around here. I enjoy hunting when I get the chance. I actually got a black bear this year out in Colorado, which was kind of fun. And then during the winter, I love to snowboard, ski or snowboard either, but do a bunch of that whenever I get the chance. So
you're kind of crazy.
I try to do a lot of stuff. I know like all the expensive. I used to be into cars. I'm like, I can't afford that too.
Golf's not much cheaper.
Oh no. Yeah, and actually, part of the craziness of this year is we bought a small 5 acres next to Fairplay, and so we're actually right near the course, so I can like try to jet out there when I get a chance and all that. So
that's really cool. I'm horrible at golf, so I don't do it very often. I'd probably break my neck on a snowboard, and
Yeah, I want to snowboard or ski, but yeah, falling down the mountain doesn't seem like my body would like it right now. I beat it up enough other ways. And I'm not good at golf either. I just really enjoy it. Because you get that one, all you need is one good hit again, good around. Yeah. One good hit around, and then you'll come back. You'll just say, hey, I can do this more often. It's a dopamine hit.
Right. I think
it's better than any. I guarantee a heroin's not, that feeling can't be better than that pure golf shot.
When it goes straight right where you were hoping it would.
You get that one shot. It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. You guys get those shots?
Oh yeah,
every once in a while.
You get one
around.
You get one, and you could have your worst round ever, and you're gonna get that one right before you leave. And be
it's always my first shot.
All right,
first shot's good, and then the rest of it's downhill.
Your expectations are too high after the first one.
That's no fun. So I start off bad, and then try to get one there before I leave. Because there's been times where it's like, no, I'm never doing this again. And you get that one, you're like, all right, I can come back.
I think I heard someone say that was like, that's the only time that most of us can feel like a professional athlete is when we like hit a really good shot in golf or like a really big putt that you shouldn't make.
Right.
Because none of us can feel what it feels like to score a touchdown in football in like a big stadium. But we can all hit that 30
You can hit a
footer
60-foot putt and you can be like, ooh, yeah. Especially when it comes in a scramble and you just watch 7 guys in front of you or something hit a putt that's, or miss that same putt or a putt around that length or whatever. And then you just step up there and you're like, I got this.
I'm Tiger Woods, y'all.
Yeah. Tiger vision.
Yeah. I'm totally into, I better buy a new putter, a new driver. That's going to fix everything because I never get lessons.
It's always the equipment, right? It's never the operator.
That's what Bryson says.
Yep. $1,000 club can fix a $2 swing any day of the week. Let's go.
Do you still have any like love for sports? Do you think you'll ever get back into anything with sports or?
Not probably organized. I don't see myself having time for it now. I've tried to be like a part of different sports programs a little bit here and there, even coaching some too. When I first came here, I coached with the 7th grade football program here for a couple of years with Foxhoven. And then just when I went to the Y, I was too busy with Y sports. There was no way I was going to be able to do both. And then with the business, same thing. So I'd love to. I work out at the CrossFit gym here in town, and I've been doing that for like 6-7 months now and seeing a lot of good progress. And I'm feeling more explosive and athletic again. I'm like, oh, maybe I could go do some
Which
stuff.
one you been going to?
CrossFit 1026.
Is that the one over on Omaha Avenue there?
Yep.
By the railroad tracks?
Yep. Yeah, good people over there.
Enjoying that?
Yes. I really like it because it reminds me so much of college football workouts and just team workouts. I enjoy the camaraderie of doing it with people, and then I like the circuit style training.
I do too.
So,
if I can get myself back into it.
Right. I worked out with Sam when I was at the Y, and this was before he'd really started a lot of his heavy powerlifting. And it was a lot of fun working out with him. I learned so much from him, and he's awesome. And it was always like, man, I'm getting new PRs, but it's like when your PR is still 100 pounds under what his normal lift is, and we're still taking off multiple plates.
He's over there. He's over there warming up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I got to 400 in deadlift, but he's doing 560. So like, what does it really matter?
I don't know how many days I berated him when I was working out with him for a while.
Yeah. In the what room do they call that?
I don't remember what he calls it.
I don't either. Because while I was there, we did a lot of workouts there. That's actually where I started.
I call it the doorway to hell.
Yeah, that place is crazy. Yeah, a lot of cardio burn in there too.
Yeah.
Just a lot of muscle burn too.
Yeah,
it's good. But CrossFit reminds me a lot of it, and I really do enjoy just the range of motion, and that it's a little bit more so than the Queen X room, I think is what they called it.
Sure.
But I like that it was a little bit more Olympic lifting style.
Yeah.
Than just like stations and machines a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like that little bit of that. So
I get that. So let's get into BoxDrop. So what was the inspiration for BoxDrop? So it's obviously, you said you had seen BoxDrop, so it must be is it a franchise thing that you did, or how does that work?
So it's more of a franchise. They're a distributor for furniture, overstocks, closeouts, stuff like that. And so we're still our own independent business, and we paid a nominal fee at the time to get in. It's a little bit more now because it's actually grown as a model, which is pretty cool. And so I'd heard about that. Some friends of our family did it out in Spokane, Washington, and doing it really successfully. They'd only been in for like a year and a half or so, and it carried a lot more credence than a lot of those like, hey, you're going to go sell stuff to all your friends and get them to get on a subscription, and then they're going to have to go get their friends, and then you're going to create this.
That's what we call a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, because I'd had a couple, being interested in business, those are the things that pop up really readily because they're looking for someone else to hop into their stream.
Yeah.
And so I had been at the table listening to a few spiels, and I was like, I don't like any of those. But this one actually had more weight to it because you're buying overstocks and closeout at a really good price, and you're running a low overhead business model so that then you can undercut the big stores. And so it's a simple concept that if you work at it really hard and do a good job and get good at finding what deals are deals and what stuff to stay away from, and then just liking people in general and helping people, it really can take off. And that's 4.5 years later. It's the best decision we ever made.
Yeah.
So
I'd say so. Was your wife pretty on board with the idea, or did that take some convincing?
definitely convincing, and I worked really hard at convincing her on this. I also tried again little things time and again where I might put like $500 towards this idea that I'm gonna like, or it was $1,000 to make powder coat like tumblers. You know, like those Yeti tumblers, like kind of what you have here on the table, is that you can get blanks of that and you can powder coat. And we did some really cool stuff. You can make it look like wood grain or put logos or do all sorts of stuff like that. But on a cup that you're selling for $35 and you're putting 2 hours of work into it and you're only making $20 on it, it's just, you have to produce so many to actually make it
And there's a
work.
lot of people around here that do that now too.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gotten so popular. Back then, 4 or 5 years ago, it was still newish.
Yeah.
And they were kind of developing good techniques in it. And now it's just super easy and it's just hard to do.
Kind of like podcasts.
Right. Exactly.
We're really saturated. So
There's just a lot of noise out there. Yeah. So anyway, I'd had one guy in college that had talked to me. And he's like, man, I get what you're trying to do there. That's a cool little business model thing. And I dabbled in some other stuff that was along the same vine. And he's like, man, I have this bigger product that I sell that's like $1,000. It was a version of like a tonneau cover that's his own thing. And it's really neat. But he's like, I don't have to sell 1,000 of them to make it work. He says I can sell quite a bit less because our margins are a little better. It's a bigger product, higher quality, and all that type of stuff. So I was like, wow, that actually, it made something click in my head that at that point, and he probably thinks it's one of the least things he said, but it made the biggest impact because when BoxDrop rolled around, I was like, oh, everyone has to sleep on something. Why not save some money on it? And mattresses are usually a little bit higher product that you're buying. It's not just buying a carton of milk. You know, you actually have to go out and look for it, and hopefully you find one you really, really like, and then you're going to be on it for 7 to 10 years, hopefully, before you go do this whole process again.
Right.
So hopefully once a decade you're doing this. So if we can help people out on that little bit of time that they're in and give them a really good deal, we can make a lot of happy people.
because it started off as just mattresses, right?
Yep.
And you were doing it out of a different location, right?
Yeah, we were behind the windshield doctor in the old Renter's Wraps building.
That's what it was.
And it used to be Polaris and a whole bunch of other businesses, I was told, prior to my time here.
Yeah.
And so, we were in there. It was, I think we were like 3,000 square feet or something
And
like
it was
that.
by appointment only too, right?
Yep. And that was kind of like something that BoxDrop had recommended when you're first getting started as a like distributor was recommend, like they give practices that work good. And so they actually recommended doing that. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And it worked really good. And I could have a little bit of work-life balance. And then again, it's COVID. And so, I mean, not that most of us cared around here as much as other places, but the appointment model got you away from a lot of issues that a lot of the other parts of the country dealt with because your big chain stores had to either distance or limit the amount of customers. Well, we limited it by just being by appointment.
Right.
And so it worked out really good. We could be one-on-one. And then you also don't feel weird because there's other people watching you try mattresses in the store and people creeping on you. Like it worked really, really effectively at that time in that stage. Yeah. We've grown beyond that, so I can't. We're more open hours now. I still do appointments because I've always wanted this to be flexible and work with people and just be available. So we're available whenever we need to be outside of Sundays. That's just family day. We're closed. I'm not around. But other days we'll have some store hours. And then if you need a different time, just give me a heads up. I'll make sure I'm there. And I'm probably there anyway. So it was just appointment when we first started.
And this is the only thing you're doing now, right? You don't have another job?
I've actually really never had a other job during this whole time.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much jumped in head first. I quit the job at
You
the
just
Y.
jumped in swimming.
Yeah, and I quit the job at the Y, and my job ended, and I thought I had a place lined up, and I didn't. And so it was like 2 weeks later, I lined up the place that I had. And then the other hard part thing was, in hindsight, it was the worst time to start an overstock business because supply chains were so screwed up.
Right.
So I placed my first order, I think August 15th or 14th of 2020. And prior to 2020, they were there in like a week. Like if you got overstocks, you were getting truckloads a week because they were just going around. I didn't get it for 6 weeks.
Ooh.
So the first 6 weeks of business, I'm just twiddling my thumbs, actually golfing a lot. I had a golf membership. So I was like, I don't have anything else to do. I don't have any product to get. And we were then a little bit more concerned. I was like, all right, prior to all this, we really did a good job of saving our own money, and we never took a dime out. I've never financed a bit on this whole
It sounds
endeavor
like you
company.
come into things with a plan.
Try to.
Whereas a lot of times when my wife and I did our businesses, we were pretty much at the end of our strings and just went, "Hey, we're going to do this."
Just make it work, right? Yeah. Well, and there's partially head first or trial by fire is a good way to learn too.
Yeah.
I will say this: when I worked at my first job here, was at Community Pride as a cook. So I had a 7-8 hour shift or whatever that I was line cook, whatever you want to call it, glorified chef. I was able to have one earbud in my ear. And so I just started listening to business podcasts at that time, but I'd found Dave Ramsey at that point.
Gotcha.
And so which was really good because I'd had decent instruction on how to like handle finances. Like don't take out lots of debt. Like I didn't come out of college with a lot of debt because I worked my butt off and I also did it slowly, kind of slowly and got whatever grants, whatever I could get help on. And so finding Dave Ramsey was just learning a lot of basic business principles as well as finance. Just spend less than you make. Invest the difference, save the difference, do something like that. And so I started listening to more of his business side of things, and it was interviewing, basically early podcasting of interviewing just CEOs of a lot of companies, how they started, how they got off the ground. And they're like, man, if you can do it by cash or do it, some businesses, it's just not possible. Franchises are expensive typically.
Right. And
we got in for a pretty small thing. I mean, we were all in for $18,000, which
not
again
bad.
is not big for a franchise. Most of the time it's 50 to 100 or more.
Is that just to get the name and then the supply line?
Mostly inventory, your business startup. Some actually,
So you got some inventory in that amount too?
yeah, I actually snuck into where they were at a time where they weren't really charging very much of a fee because of COVID. So like they lowered their entry fee even a little bit. So it all worked out pretty good there. Not that I planned that by any means, but it worked. And so, yeah, we got in there, but inventory took forever to get there. It was 6 weeks on the first one, but we sold everything we got on that first truck in like a week and a half.
Really?
And I was like, this is possible. Like, this is doable. We can do this. And so then I waited another 4 weeks for our next truck and sold that in like a week. And then waited another like 3-4 weeks and sold that one off. And so I didn't make a dime that first basically 4 to 6 months. But we were able to not lose any money and didn't really have to put a ton into it.
You got to pay the bills and yeah, that's good.
Of the business.
Yeah.
So even our own financial situation at that point on the personal level was my wife's income. We could live off of it entirely. So if I didn't need to make much, it was fine. We didn't have any extra, but we could at least scrape by until this could start working. 2021, as soon as that rolled around, supply lines started fixing themselves until April and then or March, whenever that freeze happened down in Texas and Houston. That was just nuts.
Oh yeah.
Well, like 80% of the foam for memory foam mattresses and foam beds and car upholstery and couches and everything was actually just gone. Like it was done because all the freezing froze all the pipes and all those expand and all that. So it kind of threw off supply again. And so then through like 3 months, they were trying to get their supply back on to normal. And then basically the middle of 2021 is when things have gotten a lot more consistent. And we see trucks in under 3 weeks, at least for mattresses. Furniture's longer out, but that's pretty normal. So because of all that, about 2021 is when we first actually felt like we were in business. And we actually started taking a paycheck. It was about a year in, which was kind of cool.
That's good. So when did you move into the new building then?
We've been there now 2 years, pretty much on the dot. So we moved in January of 23. And the purpose was to get into furniture. I knew I needed more space. I have the same landlord as I had at my last place. Shad's awesome. And he added that addition on for us. I think from proof that we'd been good renters in the last place. And so now we have 6,500 square feet, a lot more doable, though I'm already outgrowing it.
I was going to say, last time I was in there,
yeah,
you were stacking on stacking on stacking.
Yeah, we're finding that with furniture, you just need a lot more options.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out and be creative on storage and external storage. And I mean, someday I'd like to own my own building. Yeah. But that's definitely down the road.
Well, time. You'll get there.
I also don't want to start building or start buying before I know how big we can get. We're still in that upward growth trend right now, and I like where we're headed. But I don't want to like buy an 8,000 square foot building or 10,000 square foot building and find out I really need 15.
Right.
And now I'm screwed because I'm like stuck on a mortgage for a bit, and then I either have to sell or buy another place or do something. So while I have the opportunity, I'd like to see how big we can grow. And then when it gets a little more consistent, maybe less high of growth, then we'll maybe find a place that'll work good.
That's good. We talked about that with a lot of the city council people about the police station, how some of them thought that, yeah, if we do this extra stuff. How long is it going to last? Is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 4 years? You know, we're going to be able to build, you know, I get it. Makes sense. I feel like I've outgrown my office, and I've been there for a couple years, but it's just a tiny little thing, but we don't need much.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple things from you. I think the quality of everything is really good. I've been happy with everything that we've bought.
Good.
Comfortable, easy, comes in boxes. At least mine did.
Yeah.
Most of them come in boxes like that.
You talking mattresses or? I know the couches
furniture.
did. Yeah, the furniture did. Reclining furniture typically comes in a box,
Does
just
it?
because the backs come off, and so they can make it in a more compact thing. They're usually heavier, so they can put it on a truck easier that way.
Good.
Yeah, we get a lot of different brands. I really like Steve Silver and Parker House. I feel like their quality is pretty top notch. I mean, Flex Steel is the gold standard. I tell this to people all the time. Flex Steel is the gold standard, but none of their pieces are like under $5,000. Or
Right.
very seldom are they under $5,000.
Right. I wasn't in that bracket.
Me neither. And so I like Steve Silver and Parker House because they're usually like furniture that's maybe $3,000 to $6,000 that we're then able to bring under $3,000 or right at $3,000, or sometimes it's $2,500 or $1,500 or something like that. So it just depends on if we get it at closeout, overstock, whatever. But they're really good brands. We've gotten some Albany recently. We've gotten some other brands out there. Furniture is so much different. Where mattresses, everyone like, oh, I've heard of Serta, Sealy, Purple, Nectar. It's highly advertised based on a name.
Right.
Furniture is a lot less so, unless it's Lazy Boy or Ashley, because they
That's about the only two that I can tell you.
Yeah, and sadly, I think they've been trading on their name too long.
I
All
agree
the
with
Ashley
you.
stuff we get in reclining, their stationary stuff's still top notch. All Ashley's reclining stuff, I've just been disappointed with how they're buttoned up. They're not as well just put together, and then quality of material just seems to be a little bit down. So that's been my take. There's plenty. Ashley makes so much furniture; it's ridiculous. So it's not all their pieces, but I just find that I like to stay away from some of the Ashley stuff, just because their reclining stuff is going to be moving a lot. If you don't build really high quality stuff, you're going to be calling me in 2 years saying, hey, it's broken. I'm like, well, at least we have a warranty on it. So let's go from there. But
I always say you get what you pay for when it comes to furniture too, in some cases.
Yep.
So,
oh, definitely.
yeah. People going in there thinking they're buying a, whatever, $10,000 couch for $2,000. It's not, that's not what's happening, but you do have some good deals.
Yep. Well, and I mean, I tell people too, it's like I'm hunting for closeouts and overstocks, and like I have always enjoyed finding a good deal, and that's literally what I do now is try to find good deals. And the better we've got at furniture, the higher quality we're bringing in, the better prices we're able to offer if we keep our overheads low. And then on top of that, I don't want people calling me that they're having warranty issues. Like there's going to be warranty issues, like that's going to happen. But the better I can do at finding pieces that have the least amount of issues, the better, because I don't want to deal with warranty issues because you don't want to deal with warranty issues. And I will take care of you, and we're going to make it right and do whatever we need to get you happy, even if it means we're losing lots of money. But I don't want to have to deal with that. So if we can do it. Same with mattresses.
Yeah.
Same with mattresses.
I get you. You want to kind of tell the people, we've kind of talked about it, mattresses, furniture. Do you want to kind of tell the people kind of what all you do offer? I mean, it's a pretty wide variety of things. When it comes to furniture, if you're thinking couches and love seats and recliners, well, I got bar stools from you. Like it's not just you have coffee tables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we mattresses. We do a lot with mattresses. We're at 4.5 years in that. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on mattresses now, and can really help people find what they're looking for if they'll work with us in the store. And so we'll do mattresses. We'll do frames. We'll do adjustable frames, which are amazing. And we're really good priced on those. And same with platforms. And then for couches, I'm branching out into a few different things even now, but mostly sofa loves, sectionals, reclining, non-reclining, trying to get a variety of sizes because everyone's space is different. We've got a lot of old houses around Norfolk, so it's always fun playing a little bit of Jenga or Tetris or whatever you want to call it in people's houses, and I do enjoy that. We've started doing some massage chairs. We got some really cool closeouts on some very high-end massage chairs, and I have one, and it's amazing, and I use it like 3-4 times a day. And then we do have some end tables and coffee tables. I don't dabble into that too much yet. I have a buddy up by Osmond that actually like builds them. He used to build recurve bows, and he's wanted to do some furniture stuff, and so he'll do more custom work. It's not in many ways, it's not along the same lines of what I'm doing with the business. I mostly just let him show. Like, I don't even try to sell it for him. Like, hey, this is what he offers. This is what he does. They're really, really amazing pieces.
Yeah, you've had a few in the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good
I'm
looking.
so going to have him build me a table when we get our house done because, again, it's generational pieces.
Right.
And that's what's really cool about it. And he's got a really good price on them, too. But, yeah, they're not really part of what I do, but they're there. If we can get bigger space, I would love to get into dining room tables and chairs and maybe even bedroom furniture and stuff like that. But I find that sometimes the wood-based products, at least from the manufacturers, some of it just comes more damaged to me more frequently. And people want such a variety of colors and styles that until I have a better grasp on it or more space, I'm leery to get into it because you tie up a lot of your inventory in waiting for warranties before you've even sold something, that you just don't run into those issues with some of your fabric and foam-based stuff. Like,
So if you do get something damaged, you can recoup by doing a warranty claim?
Yeah.
As the...
it all depends. The manufacturers don't like to lose money, clearly. Like, they're not in the business of losing money. So they're hoping we'll eat as the middle guy in a sense, or they're hoping we'll eat whatever. And so because of that, it depends on how damaged it is. If it's pretty far damaged, or like, hey, dude, I cannot sell. This is broken. Like, there's nothing I can do.
If they're thinking there's a little bit of chip, you can just knock a little bit off and take it on your end. Well, no, you take it on your end. Why am I taking it on my end?
Right. I mean, I'm like already not on very high margins to begin with, and now you're asking me to take half of it because you screwed it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it gets a little bit tough in that sense. And we're not talking like I'll have it the next day like Amazon or 2 days later.
Right.
I'm waiting 4 weeks or 5 weeks on furniture stuff. And that's if they have more of it because I'm getting overstocks. So it's like some things are not even worth doing, and we'll just take a loss on it or just help someone out, give them a better deal or whatnot. And then some of it's like, there's just nothing I could do. I'm just going to have to wait. And when it's like part of a 3-piece sectional and you need that piece, it's like, well, now I have floor space being taken up by something I just can't do anything with, which happens.
And you pass the deals on to people too. If you get something that's shipped wrong or whatever. You did that for my father-in-law the other day.
Yeah.
It was like a different, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Like the whole section wasn't there or something.
Yes. Oh, yes. So the whole sectional wasn't there. It was actually like a screw up on there, and then they shipped me some extra pieces. And I was like, great. I say, when are you going to charge me? Oh, we didn't even know we sent you those. And so it was like, you can have them. I'm like, great. Well, we're going to pass on the deal. So, I mean, like in that, I think it's all 3 of those pieces reclined too.
Yeah.
So like, and that set is real leather, power reclining, power head tilt.
He loves it.
And I was like, I got it for free. $300 is yours. It'll be fun money for us on a vacation.
Wild.
And I'm like, you're not. And again, it's like, I don't need to be greedy. I could probably sell that thing for $1,200 if I wanted to in the store, because no one needs to know the story. And like, it's really on me, but it's like, no, it was a blessing to me. I can be a blessing to someone else, and we can help people get something great. He needed something that was modular, that could get down a small staircase.
Yep.
All the backs come off. It's a 3-piece sectional that we turned into a sofa that works.
That's why I sent him to him. Like, if anybody can help you out, he's going to be able to help you out, because he might have some random pieces that you can take. Because he couldn't fit his other couch down the steps.
Oh yeah, and now it's gonna last him a long time.
Oh yeah,
it's a great piece.
He's happy with it.
Good.
That's good.
I say, and I'd heard the philosophy, again, listening to a lot of business podcasts and listening to a lot of people like, hey, this is how you do business. This is the proper way to do business, or whatever. Everyone has an opinion, but certain things that have stuck out to me is like someone said, if you help enough people, you'll never have to worry about money. And within reason, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But like, that's how we try to run our business, is that I help enough people with furniture and mattresses. 1, they're going to tell people, but 2, they're going to then come back, and we're going to make lifelong connections with people, and we're going to help enough people. And the more people that come in, at some point, even on small margins, at some point, all your business expenses are paid for the month, the week, whatever. And then after that, anything you get is, well, the government takes 30%, but then you get the rest after that. And so again, it's more of a volume thing as much as we can help. And so we've been able to keep prices really low with a lot of the inflationary stuff that's gone on too. So I've, as best as I can, not raised any prices in a year or 2 on stuff that I can. Now I don't get the same pieces all the time, so it really does vary. But I've tried not to change our margins, or like, hey, this piece really should go for this. Even though the whole market now, because everyone just got a 5% increase on it, everyone else has jumped at 5%. No, we'll just find a way to be a little bit more efficient in our business, or maybe we move away from that piece, but we'll try to find a way to save people that money so that they're not having to incur that extra expense just because everyone else is.
Right.
So, and part of that due to the fact that we've been growing. And so the more margin and more people that we help, I can actually bite off some more of that margin. So
that's good. And it's just you and your family, right? You don't have any employees. I mean, your overhead, like you said, is super low.
yeah, comparatively to most furniture stores, some of the ones in towns, I heard them talking, they have like 20 employees to help you find it. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm hopefully all 20 of them are finding it for you, but that's a lot of expenses I don't have to incur.
Right.
And so, I mean, we know that our niche, we are not for everyone. I think we can help everyone, but we're not for everyone. And so there's a place for us. There's a place for all the places in town. And they do a great job. I've gotten stuff from everywhere else in town. They're good. They really are. But we found a niche that we can be in, that we can help people at. And so that's what we do. So yeah, I actually have finally got a little bit of help as a part-time guy to help me in the warehouse, just so I don't have to set up every sectional. And then I have a little bit more consistent delivery help. So it's not just me finding my brother or brother-in-law or some random person and saying, hey, you want to come lift a 300-pound couch? No. So anyway, I'm starting to do that. We're kind of at that cusp where I do need to hire some more help, just because sometimes weekends are just crazy. I think you were in there once. I was like, there's like 4 or 5 people I'm trying to help at once. And that's now, I'm not helping as much anymore.
Right.
And so I'm seeing that, hey, to expand, this business needs to grow beyond me if it wants to actually succeed. And so I'm going to need some help here. So part of our success has made it to the point where I'm going to need some help. I'm looking for help that's maybe bilingual too, because I think that would be very beneficial.
It's usually important.
I took the wrong language course in high school. There's no help here.
Not a lot of Hebrew around here.
No, surprisingly not.
Yeah,
Surprisingly,
weird.
That's crazy.
Weird.
And I know like mattress and sofa, well, sofa is basically sofa, I think, are pretty close to it in Spanish, but I've learned a few words, but I don't know enough. So.
Yeah.
Just point.
Every time I've gone in there, it's been super busy. Yeah. Luckily, we'll just sit and wait for you.
I appreciate that. There's sometimes I'm like, I feel bad because I'm taking advantage of knowing that people are patient with me that have already been in there to try to finish up helping someone else. So.
You're really good about multitasking though, because I think you were helping them with the mattress or something, and they wanted to kind of look a little bit longer. And you're like, "Hey, quick! I'm gonna go get these," because I know you knew what I was there for, so it worked out.
Yeah, that's been the growing thing for me, is trying to learn to work with. I mean, no one likes to be sold to. Yeah. Everyone likes to buy, but no one likes to be sold to. Yeah. And I've never wanted to be pushy. I've never wanted to be a salesperson. I've never had any desire to do anything. Very fine
line you have to do in sales.
Exactly, because you do want to help people find what you want. Because if you completely back off, well, then they're going to pick whatever just based on price or not knowing anything about it. So if I can help them find what they're looking for, or ask questions that, like, especially with mattresses, most couples are like, one will come in and say, okay, you decide. And the other one's like, but you're the one with the back issues. It's just like, and so the last mattress they bought, it's clearly like one person said, I like this one. The other says, do whatever you want. And now the one that said, do whatever you want hates the bed. So now it's their turn to pick the bed that the other person hates. And so it's like, well, maybe if I can ask some questions or say, hey, you say you want a firm bed. You don't really want to sleep on a rock, though. You just want good support.
Right.
Well, try this mattress, because this mattress here has firm springs in it, but it's got a soft top on it. So you're both going to get, one of you that likes soft is going to be happy, and the other person that really doesn't want a rock, they just want firm or support, they're happy now too. And we can get people to leave and try to compromise. Usually that's the couples. It's like, can we get you to compromise?
Good luck.
Right. Right.
Do you ever, do you have any crazy requests that you've gotten for anything?
Nothing too out of the ordinary. Again, the nature of doing overstocks is that I have to deal in stuff that's very common.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'll get some like out there requests, and actually some of them are starting to happen a little bit more, like a split head queen adjustable base. So, or adjustable base and mattress. So like the top half of the bed is split on a queen size and it'll adjust. Like that was a kind of a thing in a king. But queen, now the bed's smaller, and now you're asking half of that smaller bed to move up and down. And so it's actually becoming a thing. We just got one in, but someone had kind of made a request along that lines, or I've had someone buy like 2 huge sectionals, which was really cool. And the idea was that it was two 6-piece modular sectionals, so 2 massive sectionals, but they had a huge space that was really neat, really set up to watch the Husker games. And so they took all the inside pieces of one and made this mammoth sectional. And then they took the two ends of the second sectional, just made a love seat across from it. And so it was really a neat setup. Worked out. I'll say I maybe have bent over backwards a little bit on some of these sales to just try to make people happy or to fit their timeline. Because like that one, I had one of the 6 pieces in. The other one I drove down to Kansas City to get because he wanted it for the Husker Iowa game. And I'm like, man, if I can make it happen, I will make it happen. And the trucks just kept on being delayed and delayed. I'm like, crud. Anyone within the BoxDrop kind of community, I'm like, anyone have one of these in a remotely close distance? I'll go pick it up. And sure enough, someone in Kansas City, and so it was like 5.5 hours one way to just go pick up one sectional for someone. But it was like, hey, they really needed it for this. And I wanted to be a help and be good on my word that, hey, we'll get you taken care of.
Well, hopefully you got a customer for life now.
I hope so.
I know with the bar stools, I think I wasn't like hounding you because obviously I wasn't ready for them because I told you like we were going to be ready by March or ready by whatever it was, April. And then it turns out it wasn't even like, I was like, it was October.
It was October.
I'm pretty sure.
It was the Colorado game.
Yeah, it was the Colorado game. Okay. It was when we were first able to use it. And I think I got the bar stools like a week before that.
Sure.
I'm finally like, because I think they finally came in like, I don't even remember, August maybe. I'm like, can you hold on to them for like another month? Mm-hmm. I'm not ready for them yet.
Yeah. Well, and I was just like, I saw him there, sitting there because I'd had him sitting there waiting for whenever. I'm like, did I ever tell him? I reached out. I'm like, I hope I'm not bugging you, but I just wanted to make sure that we've had this conversation so that I'm not like dropping the ball. Because I'll say that's one of the things I'm trying to grow as a business owner is one, I need to build better systems within our thing. Because again, we started small. Like I could name all the mattresses that we first started with type of thing. And so I've always been pretty good with keeping stuff in my head. And now I need to get it out of my head because if we're going to hire, I mean, they don't know what's going on up there. And I could tell you where every single piece that's in there is right now, but they can't. And so, and it's like how much we have of each. So I need to get better on the back end inventory side. Like, hey, though these change every single week, we need to make sure they get into a system and get placed in there and do proper inventory management because my head's getting full of everything else and I just don't remember as much as I used to.
That makes sense. I'm the same way. So we've all had a few bad interactions in retail as on the sales side. Do any of those, or have you had any that stand out that you'd like to share?
Like in our own store?
Yeah.
I think the one that I could think of where the guy was just really, really upset was me. We were early on, and it was my fault too because we'd had a conversation on the phone, and I was either busy or something like that. I was just like, hey, yep, we have mattresses. They start at $127 or at whatever the price is at the time. And, but yeah, come and check them out. And they came from West Point or something like that. So it was a ways away. And he thought, and again, I should have set expectations, but he thought everything in the store was $127.
Oh no.
So it's like, or whatever the price was. It was just like, I felt bad because I'm like, I didn't set the expectation ahead of time that no, we start at this price. We have them from 100 and whatever bucks to $1,000 bucks, even though most of them are priced over 500 and everywhere else. So it's one of those things that it's like, I should have set an expectation. So he was pretty upset with me and calling us the scam and all that. I'm like, I'm sorry. Part of me is like, part of me in my head's like, dude, you gotta realize
that's kind of a common sense thing.
It is, but it's still my fault. Like
I should hear 127 and not think, oh, this might be a twin.
Right. And it wasn't like the picture was just one bed either. Yeah. Like, and that's one thing. It's like if you take a picture, and this is one of our kind of competitors, things is Mattress by Appointment. They do a similar model to what we do. But their thing of late has been taking pictures of just like one bed and then putting their price. And it's like clearly not the bed that goes for whatever they're, and they might put other pictures. And again, it's not fraud, but you just got to know that like, hey, it's not going to be
sales
exactly
tactics. That. It's like the post that you have out there that's always recurring of like sofas starting at whatever the price is.
Yep.
There's probably one sofa in the whole place, right? Or maybe not even one.
No, there is. I mean, if we're going to post the price on there, it's there.
Yeah.
Just because I mean, my biggest thing is I don't want to be disingenuous to other people because I don't want, I mean, who likes an experience where you're told you're going to have an opportunity to get something at this price and then it just doesn't even exist? Or hey,
happens all
you
the time.
Need to wait 2-3 weeks for it or 4 weeks for it, which is a common strategy, especially within furniture. Furniture now, especially when supply chains are better, a lot of stores, so that they can have smaller inventory and less overheads, you coming in, you're going to have to order. You know, expect whatever you pick is 2 to 4 weeks out unless we have a floor model that's been sitting out there for 8 months, which you don't want anyway. And so it's like, no, we turn our inventory all the time. I never know what I'm going to get 3-4 weeks out. I have consistent, like, hey, these are their catalogs and here's what's available. But I don't know, some of the pieces that are really popular, they come available once a year. Right. So like, I'll try to get my hands on like 6 or 7 sets when I get a chance. I just may not. And so it depends on a lot of that stuff. So if we post it, I want it to be there, and I want to always be straight up front with you. And so I had to learn that lesson too. Don't take pictures of just one single item.
Take the whole showroom.
Take the whole showroom. Or if you are, put it with a collection of a bunch of photos. Because, I mean, there's only so much I can tell too, because part of us undercutting the big stores is that map pricing is a thing across the country. Like, you have to follow manufactured, whatever pricing that they've put there, if it's going to be advertised. So we have to be very cautious that I can't advertise everything. I'll give you all the prices. Like, I don't care, but I also have to protect my relationship with the distributor and the manufacturers. Otherwise, they'll cut off my supply.
Right.
And Ashley's the classic one for that, is that an Ashley home store can say at Ashley Corporate, hey, this person is advertising whatever item at well below whatever we're doing, and we don't like it. Well, that could get my supply cut off. And again, I'll try to be honest upfront, everything I've got, especially in store. But I have to be careful. That's part of the agreement, part of the guidelines, or just don't carry it, and that's part of that. So some manufacturers are easier to deal with than others, and some are whatever. And so it's
that's life.
It's life. So, but yeah, we try to be upfront in all our advertising as best we can.
That's good. So give us some positives and negatives of being an entrepreneur.
Oh, positives, you get to be your own boss. I love that. I love being able to pick my own schedule. I mean, sometimes we fool ourselves that we're picking our own schedule because we do help people whenever, all the time.
Yeah. Phone's always on.
I think the thing that I've always loved about it, and maybe this goes back to like having been homeschooled and always being a self-starter. It's like, hey, I knocked out my school. I actually went to public school for a little bit of time, and I hated it because we have to be there till 3 o'clock. I can have all this done by noon, and I can go play or do whatever I want. And so that's how I've always been. So when I got to some of my other jobs, it's like, okay, well, this is kind of basic work. You're not really in your career field, but okay, you're worth $13 an hour, $14 an hour, or the first job was like $10.50 an hour. And you know what? We'll reevaluate this in a year, regardless if you bust your tail or don't. And that just irritated the absolute crud out of me because I'm like, man, I feel like I work way harder than this. And maybe I should have put myself out at bigger job opportunities, and that's maybe on me. But being an entrepreneur and having a chance to succeed is that your work has an opportunity to bring you in way more money if you have the opportunity.
There's a much higher correlation.
Yeah.
Direct correlation.
I think the other thing that can't be overstated enough on business as you grow it is the value that you actually build into what you create. And that's maybe the thing I've realized more in the last 2 years is like, man, we've created a really neat business within Norfolk. Something that, not that we don't want to sell it, but like there's actually value here that if like, you know what, if life changed and we had to go somewhere else in the country or wanted to, we could sell this. And it's like, you can't sell your job.
Right.
Wherever you're working at, you leave, you're done. You might take a 401k with you, whatever, like roll that over. But like we've built something of value that actually has like a mortgage or like a house. It's like it has value that actually can be used within the market. And that's so cool. And it's actually like freeing and like, hey, this is like, hey, I can push harder because you know what? I could create
you're
even more
building
value.
Something.
Yeah. And even use that value to go after a building for our business. And then, you know what, that someday can be an asset for my family that, we could sell and we could change our family tree, and grow it and actually have some prosperity and change up how everyone else lives. And so it gives us opportunities I think are really cool. Some of the downsides are can be kind of apparent as you are working all the time. I mean, I am constantly thinking about the business, and my family laughs at how I can bring mattresses or you need a new mattress into every conversation that we have. And they think that's kind of funny. So, I mean, there's always stuff when being is currently just me as the business pretty much. If I'm gone, the business stops. Like I'm leaving Sunday. I'm really excited. I'm going to Dominican Republic for like 4 days as actually like an incentive for like buying so much inventory this year, which is cool.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I'm going to be gone for 4 days. Well, the business isn't going to run for 4 days. So you got to plan in, hey, we're going to lose that income for that amount of time, but we still have expenses. So there's, just a lot more stress involved, a lot more headache. And there's some weeks, it's entrepreneurs, it's feast and famine. Some weeks are slower. And you know what? We might not pay ourselves this week.
Right.
You know what? I worked 30 hours or 40 hours this week and I didn't make a dime.
Right.
But you know what? Next week, maybe we made $3,000. Like you just never know. And so there's a little bit of that instability that's not always fun. I mean, there's times where you trick yourself like, man, when it's a hard day, you're like, it'd be nice to just go and punch in somewhere and punch out. And like, that was the end of it. And it's like, but you miss out on a lot of other opportunities too.
It's never ending.
No.
Either way.
No, I mean, I'm attached to my phone. I wish I could get rid of my phone so bad. Like a vacation for me now is just like leaving my phone somewhere. It's like, I don't have to answer a message. I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to do anything. That's relaxing.
Was there anything that surprised you about starting your own business that you maybe didn't see coming or weren't ready for?
I mean, probably a lot of things. I mean, just a lot of stuff that's out of your control. I like to be structured. I like to try to make things work out and like just make things work out. And there's just times where it's like, man, I was pretty on schedule. I could always plan things like, hey, I was always good for, hey, if I said it was going to happen at this time, it was going to happen this time.
You kind of picked an industry that's got a little bit of question marks in it.
Correct. Exactly. So it's been
or an
growing.
entrepreneurship or
It's definitely grown in that. Although I feel like they talk about serial entrepreneurs, like people who just want to start stuff, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because like I'm always like thinking of another idea or like, hey, I don't have time to start this, but
I'm
hey, brother, you should go start this.
Yeah.
You do great at it or something like that. So I don't know. We might dabble into other stuff down the road, but we've got to get this business itself stable with just some help. So I don't have all my time taken up. So.
Yeah, that's good. Like I said, I'm kind of the same way. So I've had to learn with the podcast to not. Vance has told me not to be that way anymore.
So, what? Just always thinking of a new idea, or just being like so on
things?
Micromanage, like
okay.
Things happen to be perfect. I had it planned a certain way, and if it doesn't go that way, and like I say, I cry about it. But I get a little upset sometimes if it doesn't happen that way. But I've learned to.
There's just certain things you kind of gotta.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
And as time has gone on, I've been able to just.
Yeah, way better.
Let it go. The first like 6 months, it was like, gosh darn it! If it didn't go this way, we're done. No more podcasts.
Right. Well, and actually, I think that what it stirs something in my head that actually you're asking about something you didn't expect. And I think the one thing is the impact of people, like some random dude on the internet saying something about your business that you've worked so hard to build. And I've had a couple from people that were like recommending other stores in town that don't live around here.
Right.
Like, and they probably know those people and like, fair enough. But like, they're like not even around. They've never had an interaction with us. And they're like, oh, don't shop at this place. They won't last because whatever. It's like, it should just be water off a duck's back. Mm-hmm. But it does stick in your mind and it does hurt. And when like, I'm trying very hard to help people in every way, shape or form that I can, it just, those are those little things that I wasn't expecting as much that everyone says to expect, and it's different until it happens.
We get a lot of comments on some of our videos, and the only ones that only stick out to me are the negative ones. So I get it.
They stick out to me, and I just don't care. Yeah, whatever.
I'm always thinking like they're talking straight to me, and I'm like, no, they're really not. They're just commenting on whatever the heck. I don't know. I've always been that way. Even if I get like criticism or something, sometimes I'm like, oh, they're talking directly at me. Yeah, I did something wrong.
Definitely happened from people you know, and it's like. You didn't see that coming type of stuff. It's like, oh my God, like we're really gonna be this guy. Okay.
Right.
It's not like I supported you in everything you ever did in your life, but yeah, whatever. And then you just learn, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Turns out I'm still gonna go to bed tonight and I'm gonna wake up in the morning. Everything's gonna be fine.
Right.
I am working on that because if I'm not careful, like I will stew on something for a long time. I'm like trying to change my mind onto thinking about like, just think about something else. Go get distracted on something else and it'll still like bug me for like, and I've gotten to the point I'm like, you know what? It's just probably going to be stuck in my head and bug me for like a day or two. And then I'll get over it and I wwon't care anymore. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Even with the whole process of it, even though I don't like the process.
Right.
I mean, it took me, we've been doing this for a year and almost a year and 4 months now, 3 months. And yeah, so it's not like it was just that easy for me to, it took a while to be like, hey, whatever, I guess, and now I'm this way. I've seen comments or whatever. Now I just don't really give a shit. But there was a while there was like you said, we kind of handled it two different ways or felt a different way about two different things, but basically the same concept. We just grew as we went. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm also hearing good stuff and I'm going to start focusing on the good stuff. Why do we give a shit about the bad stuff?
Right.
There's always people that want to hate out there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with the keyboard. I mean, we all know this.
Keyboard warriors is what
keyboard warriors, yeah.
I
Like,
do
they won't
enjoy
tell
trolling, though. I do go do a little trolling myself.
Like, come say that shit to my face.
Right. Well, and I mean, with the political stuff that you guys have done even through the election, I think that's really, really cool. But it just, I mean, like we say, we shouldn't be surprised because
We're asking for it a little bit.
We are, yeah.
Because regardless of how you ask the question or don't ask the question, or
We try
hard
to
or
stay
not,
so.
or
I'm
whatever.
right down the middle of the line. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't pick a side either way.
On our other show, a little different. But when
I pick a side on both.
when we
both
interviewed
shows.
the candidates, it was pretty.
Oh.
We tried to
Oh,
stay
on
pretty.
that one.
We
Yeah.
tried to stay pretty middle of the road, and we still got. Oh, you guys are just. You're not asking the right
We
questions.
asked the same exact questions to all of them. Like, they all got this. They literally, you can go back and watch every single one. They got the
It
same
wouldn't have
exact
mattered
questions.
what we did. They were going
Yeah.
to say that no matter what.
Yeah.
It just, some interviews went kind of like he said. It's just wherever the guest goes. That's where I don't know. I have no idea what he's got down for questions, and I just base it off what he says, or you say, and I just try to add to the conversation. So yeah, every one of those candidates had the same exact questions, but
Yeah.
every single interview was different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Going back to the business, what was the hardest part being an entrepreneur? The single hardest thing that you've had to do up until now?
The hardest was definitely the start. We grew so much in the start, and just not having inventory, not having anything to be able to go. Like, it's hard to. You can't really be in business if you don't have anything to.
Like you're wanting
your
to do
business
this, and
can't
you
do
can't.
it.
You literally can't.
Yeah, there's
was
parts.
it took off more than you thought it was going to take off? Is that what you mean?
When we had inventory, yes, but the problem was getting the inventory. It was the hardest thing was trying to have faith that we were actually going to see some of this stuff, and that it was going to come in, and that this business could actually function and take off. Because again, it was so dysfunctional in what we could get as inventory for the first 7-8 months that I'm like, man, if it was going into something like that again, I'd probably cry, just because I'm just like, that was so hard, because it was just, you couldn't run anything consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess part of that lends itself to the hardest thing is just like, what if this were to fail? Like, what if I was to hurt my whole family because of something that I took on? Like, I jumped into the water, they've come in with me, graciously supported, and I let it fail. So there's always that fear of failure chasing you to do. I mean, you can use it to do better, and that's what I try to do, but it also can be like just right there. So the hardest thing is knowing that that's like right on my heels. Like, hey, if I don't keep trying and keep doing this or whatnot, it all goes up in smoke. Like, there's just, especially in retail, because it's like, if you stop advertising or aren't around for 2-3 weeks, people just forget. And they might remember, oh, hey, what about that place? Oh, it's closed. That's the end of it. They never think of them again.
Right.
So it's like, if you're not present, you're not in front of their face, and you're not consistent, you just disappear.
Or if the one time they were going to come out there and you're closed, sometimes that turns people away too right away. It's like, oh, we weren't even open. Never going there again. Yep. Happens a lot of places. I've done that before to places, so I guess
I've never done that before, but I've heard of people doing that,
Yeah.
and it's just, that's something that baffles me. But they
I don't
kind
do
of
it
like
on purpose. I just kind of forget about them
No,
after
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of like the thing that we've had to overcome too, is where retail is usually convenience, and we're inconvenient. We're inconvenient for a purpose, but if you're not interested in that purpose, it's too inconvenient. I mean,
Right.
and that's like the whole thing with everything in business now, is how do we make it so smooth? Like, how do we make Amazon making a purchase so easy that we take all of that, like, hey, should I or shouldn't I, out of the equation?
Right.
And I'm starting from, or especially when we were by appointment, I'm starting from a point of like, hey, this is not convenient. The beauty of it was, and I'll say this, is the beauty of it was I had people that were serious in my store, and we closed really, really high rates at a by appointment, because we had the chance to work with you. If you're willing to come in,
what's a captured audience? They're coming there for a purpose.
yeah. Versus if it's just, hey, I'm open all the time. Well, we get a lot of shoppers, and that's people that are shopping whatever, and they're probably not going to buy, or they're going to shop in store and see online. And you know what? I mean, the cool thing is we beat the online prices, so we still have a better price, but it's still the inconvenience of now I have to come back to you, and your hours aren't open all the time. Not to say that the other stores in town, some of them have stopped doing Sundays now.
Right.
And so we didn't do Sundays. And so I actually get some of them that have stopped doing Sundays helped me a ton, because I get less questions about being open on Sunday, because
Right.
people are just getting used to not shopping on Sundays.
Right.
And so there is some parts of that. So I do get that, and I get that, hey, we're not open all the time, but it's not because I don't want to be.
Right.
It's just because I also have to have some work-life balance, or
Right.
we don't do any of this and no one saves any money.
Right.
Just
Right.
there's a
Makes sense.
purpose.
The example I was going to give is Mongolian Grill here in town. The one day I was gonna go, they were closed for some random reason. I have yet to go there. Not on purpose. It was not like
I always forget about that place.
that's what I mean. I was gonna go that one day.
I do like
want to
that.
go, and then I haven't been.
Nope.
Want to?
I did that actually. So that happened with the
So it's not like I'm
what's
doing this
the
on
trailer
purpose.
across from it.
Oh, that
Pulling
one.
smoke or whatever. Or
That's one of
pulling
them.
smoke, right? That happened one time. I drove by
Yeah.
thinking it would be open. It wasn't open,
Yeah.
and then I forgot for a long time. Then I saw it on Facebook. I was like, I'm gonna make sure I go and grab
Yeah.
this burger.
So it happens, not on purpose. It just kind of happens.
Right. I would say as now a small business owner, entrepreneur, all that, I definitely try to hit small businesses on
Yes.
because I know the struggle. Like I'll leave more I've never left 5-star reviews before. I'll leave any place that I enjoy that's a small business and I liked or met maybe the owner. I'm like, they're getting a 5-star. If the service was good, obviously. But it's like I get how much that matters and how much a 5-star review just makes their day and helps out on any time that someone does say something stupid. But I try to make it a point to do more of that.
I should probably do that more often. I'm not a big review person.
I'm
I don't
terrible
even
at
think
it.
to do it.
I always forget to do it on like Ubers and Lyfts and
I do it on
DoorDashes.
those
I just started doing
only
that
because
thinking,
it prompts you.
Exactly. And that's the thing that most small businesses don't do a great job of is the prompting, myself included, because we're at 4.5 years in business and I should have more Google reviews just to begin with because I just need to push for them.
I have never Google reviewed anything in my life.
Sure.
I haven't
Like
either.
I honestly just never have. It's not something I've ever done.
Probably why I don't care if I have any or not, I guess.
I mean, if you're doing well in business, who really
I
cares,
think
right?
we've got like 14 reviews, maybe. I don't know.
Sure. I'll tell people, hey, both of you leave a review. Let's get one from the husband, one from the wife. Have your kid
Right.
fill out a Google. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I say all of them help. It was nice to get past the point where it was like, I mean, I only had like 4 or 5 family members do it because they actually did legitimately get a bed from me.
Yeah.
But it's just like, hey, could you please leave a review so someone doesn't think this is just my family members leaving these? Like, we need people to know we're real because we're already weird.
Right.
So like we need to have people know, hey, we are a real business within Norfolk. I know we're off the beaten path. We're in a weird day. Like part of that's to save you money. But it's just like
I don't think it's that weird to go out there.
no, I think the new place
The other one maybe was
is a little bit different.
yeah.
But we're still off the beaten path. That's purposeful.
Yeah.
I mean, we get less rent out there. I pay way less than most square footage in Norfolk. And also we're coolly enough, we're just outside the city limits. So we get more Nebraska sales tax instead of
You're
Norfolk.
not paying. See, you're
So-
not having to pay for this new police station. It's so awesome.
Right? So it's just every little bit helps is our thing there too. And so it is on purpose, but yeah, we are different. And so leave us a review just to show people we're real. Cause I get people, is this a scam? I'm like, no.
I'm sure you get that quite a bit.
A lot more at the beginning. I get a lot less of that now. It's
Good.
been really cool. I've more and more people are coming in like, hey, my
I'm sure the
coworker
more-
told me you got to go check out BoxDrop. And I'm like, thank you.
The more inviting building is probably helping.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get better signage. I know I need to get better signage, but
Once you know
It
it's
costs
there,
money.
it stands out though. Once you know it's there, it stands out every time.
Yep.
You're kind of off on your.
and we're the only red
On your
building.
own.
So
That's
I
what I
said,
mean.
guys, just come to the red building. That's it. It's better than a sign.
Yeah.
We have the billboard by the road now, which was actually
I did
I haven't
see
seen
that.
that.
I saw that the other day.
see it's
See,
slightly
I didn't
out.
even know you were where you were
Sure.
really until I saw that sign. It was might have saw it a couple weeks ago or something. I was
Sure.
like, oh shit! And then I actually took that road to go. I had to go work on a field way back in there somewhere, and I was like,
sure.
oh, that's it there, the red building.
I will say it's hard to explain where it is if you're trying to just tell somebody. So I'm just been pulling it up on the map.
Yeah.
I'm like it's right here.
Yep. No, and that's where it's like no one recognizes the businesses around there. Like RDO
Yeah.
Truck Center is the Mac dealership, but like that's the only thing that's really seriously recognizable.
Well, see,
up
I used
there,
to.
other than maybe Morton Building.
A lot of the older people might remember Eastern Auto Sales.
Correct.
So that's what I always tell people that have been around Norfolk for a long time. It's all the old Eastern Auto Sales.
So if I'm talking to farm people, I'm gonna say it's by Progressive Nutrition. It's
you
by the old Norco.
There you go. Works out. Everybody's got a thing. They'll know where it's at. We kind of talked about this a little bit, so I don't know how has opening BoxDrop changed your life? Obviously, you've kind of progressively said this already, but anything you want to add to that? The good or the bad?
No, it's been very, very positive. We absolutely love. I mean, I never thought that I'd enjoy like mattresses and couches, but I absolutely love it now. I love helping people with that, and maybe that speaks to like I loved coaching. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to coach football because I love football. Well, a lot of that's just I like helping people, and I like to make people's lives better. It brings me joy, whatever like that. And so now I get a chance to do it as a business in something that actually matters. And that's getting a better night's sleep. That's finding furniture. That's solving a problem around their house. So I do thoroughly enjoy it. On finance wise, I mean, I liked working at the Y, but there was just never going to be a chance where I was going to make a lot of money at the Y.
You had a cap. You were going to be capped.
Yep, I was going to be capped, and it just unless I made a CEO, but I didn't really have a desire necessarily to do that to some extent.
Even then, you're somewhat still capped.
Exactly.
As a CEO.
Exactly, especially since it's a nonprofit. And so anyway, starting my own business, I mean, I'm making a lot more than I used to make. I wasn't making a lot before, so that helped.
Yeah.
But I'm making a lot more than I used to. And so that's been a huge positive thing. I mean, part of the reason this year's been crazy is that we bought a small property over by Fair Play Golf Course, and we thought we were going to be renovating the house. We've got it down to studs, and sadly, we're right in that city's jurisdiction, but not city limits. And so we get all the rules and none of the benefits.
Yeah.
And so we're probably going to do tear down and rebuild or something along those lines. We're still figuring it out. But we're living at our store right now with twins.
Oh, really?
And our animals. And we're currently residing there till we can get back into our till the spring. And then we'll get back into a camper, live on the property is the idea.
Wow.
Till we now probably break ground instead of just renovate. So we're probably there for another year or so. So it's just
oh, goodness.
Yeah, it sounded all great before, like when we just were pregnant and everything was going good and we still had our other house, but like now we haven't had a house for 6-7 months.
Oh my goodness.
Living in either a camper or at the shop in the little office area that we've turned into an apartment. And none of those areas are designed to make it in the winter very well. So we've got that. Then we threw twins into the mix and the business has grown, which has been even more busy for me. And so this year, like we were up year over year, which I was really excited for business. It just means we're helping more people.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been so distracted this year because of just a lot of family stuff, which is awesome because we have a business that gives me the freedom to be able to do a lot of family stuff.
Yeah.
But the busier we are, the more money we can potentially make to then fund a lot of the projects that now I don't have to do with my own hands because I'm relatively handy, but I've never built a house and I don't really want to. So if I can help people with mattresses, I can let someone that knows what they're doing build a house.
I ain't gonna be able to build no house. I can tell you that.
Both my grandpas did. Like both my grandpas were like jack of all trade, handyman, did everything. And I'm like, I've always looked up to them, but I don't have the time or the desire to build my own house right now. So
is there a YouTube video on that?
Oh, I'm sure. Dude, I love YouTube. I do so much YouTube because of that.
Do you have any? Well, you kind of just said this already too. Do you have anyone that you look up to, whether it's in business or life?
Yeah, a few different people that I definitely looked up to. I mean, I mentioned Dave Ramsey. He's been a big thing that's like really helped push us and really taught a lot of lessons. Like I don't know him personally or anything, but my grandpa on my mom's side up in Wisconsin. I mean, he took us ice fishing, he took us hunting. I mean, he took us everything that. Like my dad worked a full-time job. He was a logger. He went to work at 3 a.m. and got back at 5 p.m. and was cutting trees all day.
That's blue collar right there.
Yeah, and I mean, this always blows me away. My dad, obviously, I look up to very much so as well. But when he first started in the woods, he was running a chainsaw all day long for like 10 hours a day. Just
oh my gosh!
I'm like, I was probably like 1 or 2, so like I don't remember any of this, but he must have been just jacked and just could have taken on anything. He's like, yeah, I could eat like 4 or 5 sandwiches a day and a box of donuts, and I didn't gain a pound. He said, and I moved to a machine where you're sitting there doing this and cutting trees. Like, yeah, I had to stop.
Kept
that
eating
real
the
quick.
same.
He's like, I had to stop real quick.
Oh.
But I think if you run a
that
chainsaw,
just happened to me when I hit 27. It was like, ooh,
you just go home like this. You would never stop shaking.
Right. Well, he always had huge, he had big forearms and big biceps too. Just because he just did that. He was climbing over trees all day long. So that always amazes me. But my grandpa's the one that got me into golf. I mean, my dad always enjoyed golf, but my grandpa had time to take us as a retired guy. So we were golfing at a young age and doing all sorts of stuff with grandpa. He had us helping around town, whether it was mowing people's lawns or just like shut-ins, like just people that weren't going to pay us. Like we got $1 or something like that, which was great because we didn't make any
quarter.
Money. Exactly. And so he was just one of those guys he always really looked up to, man of faith, just always presented that, just loved everyone, cared for everyone, and just jack of all trades. If you needed it built, he could do it. Or Jimmy Rig a way to do it. So, yeah, that was him. Obviously my dad, he's been a huge influence on me and all that. Yeah. In college, the coach that I got to work under, I can't downplay that because he was such a big influence. He didn't have to take any interest in me, especially since I wasn't a player anymore either. But he took so much interest in me, and even in the games, he would be like, "Hey, Nate, look at this area." Or like, "Hey," he'd have me like watching different areas of the field, and he already like asking for advice or like keep an eye out. And like you could tell he knew everything that was going on. Like he didn't need any of me looking around, but he was willing to, even in the midst of a football game, invest in me as a person. And so he gave me a lot of things to look at. When I first got to know him, I was like in a huge depressionary time. Like it just had a lot of stuff going wrong and I was just irritated and stuff. And he helped just kind of give me wisdom and work me out of that without that. So those were some guys that stepped in and definitely showed up.
That's awesome. Those are some great ones there. What advice do you have for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
Find something that you really love doing, because business is hard in general. So if you don't love doing it, it's not worth going through the struggle of that. That would probably be the big thing, is find something you really like doing. And then you have to be consistent. I know the big thing now is streaming video games or doing something on YouTube. And I've thought that's really cool, or just YouTube channels in general. But it takes a serious amount of dedication to do something like that you love. And I think that is so cool, but you're going to have to put in the work. I jumped in head first on this thing and I quit my job and did this. If I could tell you, ideally, find a way to do whatever you're wanting to do outside of your normal job and bring that leap of faith, bringing the boat a little closer, so you're not just jumping off the dock. So I would tell you, like, hey, hustle on the side, find out what you like doing, and find something worthwhile to do it, and then go for it. I think it's worthwhile building something that has value that you can take to market is really neat.
Yeah, I would agree. That's good advice.
The one thing I'll say, like, I'll step in and kind of jump off that, like how you talk about, like, you wish you would have, I'm guessing what you're saying is I wish I would have kept my job for just a little bit longer until I knew that this was getting, like, especially when you run out of, but yours was a different circumstance where you didn't get your product and stuff like that. But like a lot of people just think, well, since I work a 40-hour job, I don't have to do anything else for the rest of my week. Like, I don't know if you've ever been around a live or an animal or a livestock producer or a farmer out in the field. There's no such thing as a 40-hour week. I grew up, I didn't know what a 40-hour week was. When I go, now don't get me wrong, I hate going and working in a building. It's mentally exhausting, working a 12-hour shift or whatever. It's not really hard work, but I go work on a farm on my days off and I'm working 18-hour days or 15-hour days, 16-hour days, whatever it is. Granted, you're not working the whole time. You're doing different things. But like a lot of people think that, well, once that 40 hours is done, that's all you can do. There's a lot of time left to, if you really want to do something, go do it that way.
And even an hour a day or 3-4 hours a week, when you multiply that by a year, I mean, you think, what was the thing? I think it was like, you give like 1 hour a day for 5 days a week to whatever your dream is. By the end of the year, you've given a few days worth of time. And imagine how much you can accomplish on that if you were actually doing something productive, other than maybe like, how do I build a website for my thing and not actually do anything?
Right.
So I do agree. I think that you have to, does the suck of your day job suck enough for you to put in the extra time to do what you actually want to do or has the potential to work? And not everything's going to work, but it won't if you don't ever try. And so put the effort in.
Yeah, and pick something that has monetary value.
Yes.
Unlike a podcast.
Right. Well, and that's, in many ways, that's advertising and marketing. Like
it is.
That's how
We're just waiting for our viewers to grow before I keep going after more of that.
Well, and that's building that culture and community.
That's just more respect. For
Not everybody that spends the extra amount of time is on your it's not saying we're the smartest people in the world. Yeah. It's just, we're doing it. We like it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it.
I'm just more respecting
the
argument, advertisers at this point.
My argument was more to people like, and they're whining about your minimum wage jobs and your stuff like this. And then you talk to them and you find out, well, you're not even working 40 hours a week. Well, what are you doing with the rest of your time? Nothing. I don't have a job. But there's literally 3 times that amount of time in your week.
Right. Yeah, I think we've sold one show of advertisement and we knew we were going to get views. That's the only time I ever did it. Mm-hmm. Was the one time. And we like to grow more, but that's future stuff.
Right. But that's that consistency over time. What's the quote? It takes 15 years of hard work to be an overnight success.
Well, we're doing, before we did this, and the people on the show have heard this already, but we have a software that we use to make videos now. So it's not as time consuming on me, but there for a while between Vance and I, we were putting in an extra anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a week just doing podcasts. Yeah.
And video editing to some extent is kind of fun.
I love it. It was just time consuming.
Exactly. I think it's fun when you're excited about whatever you're doing. Because I've put together some videos here and there and just done some basic stuff. And it isn't fun when you've got a story you're trying to tell,
Right.
even within advertising. And I don't know if you've seen I did one little, and I need to do this again, but I did an advertising video for our store.
Did you?
It was just a small one, and it's I love snowboarding. And I found a company that makes custom snowboards. And so I got one with our logo on it. You know, it's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it looks really cool. It's a really actually nice snowboard. But I got this was maybe last year, 2 years ago. We got a bunch of snow. And so I actually had my brother pull me behind his truck on my snowboard up towards our building.
I think I saw.
And I had like someone videoing it or whatnot. And then I like transitioned it into walking into the store with the snowboard and like doing something for the store. It was just kind of fun, but it was like, hey, that's the story I want to tell. I have some other ones that I'd like to do just for advertising, just for funny stuff. But I just haven't put them into practice. I have a golf one I want to do really bad, but I'm going to wait till the Masters rolls around, I think.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Was it April?
Yep.
Yeah. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, whether it's business, relationships, or life in general? Tough question, I know.
There's been a few different things that I feel like are just truths in my life that I'll stick out. One, faith is a big deal for me. So obviously know where you're going when you die, and find out that answer in the Bible. The other thing was, at least for business and all that type of stuff, is one of the Dave quotes that's live like no one else now, so later you can live and give like no one else. And that's been such a big thing for us, because like we've been married 7.5 years, and I've moved jobs multiple times, but we've been grinding ever since I got a hold of that quote, and that, hey, we can progress our life. Like, we've done very, very only our houses have we ever put loans on. And that's not really heard of. But like in 7.5 years, I'm 31 now, we've gone from making very little in rental apartments to now having a really neat opportunity with a house and a business that's worked. And so we've sacrificed and we've worked hard at, you know what, we'll say no to ourselves on this. This isn't as important. Or, hey, yes, we want nicer cars, but we just need cars to get us A to B. We don't need a status symbol. We don't need this. We don't need that, because someday we'll be able to get those things if we want to. We may not even need them then. I don't really care. But it's one of those things that we can sacrifice now so that later it's going to be worth it. Right. And that's been probably one of the biggest things that we've done.
It's awesome. It's good to hear. That's kind of all I had on the piece kind of involving the business and stuff. Is there anything that we missed that you want to go over? Is there anything we missed about you that you want to go over?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, we're going to move into a couple different things. I want to know your opinion on the local election around here that kind of went down in November. Did you pay much attention to what was kind of going on?
I was. One of the problems that I kind of mentioned is that we moved into city jurisdiction, but we're outside of city limits. So we actually didn't get a vote on any of that stuff. So yes, I was following it. I wasn't as in depth as maybe I should have been, just because I didn't really have a voice in the matter. And that's no real reason. It's just maybe my excuse. And we also had a lot going on. Yeah. So arguably I didn't do a ton with that. I try to pay attention to what's going on. But
did you have any thoughts on, did you see some of the stuff, like, are you a part of the bitching page or see any of that back and forth?
No, I'm actually not on that page. I mean, I see what comes up on the...
It's good for you not to be.
I have enough going on. I would say I have enough going on. I don't need other drama that I don't need to go. I do see some of the stuff that pops up, like people put stuff on Madison County Exchange type pages. And so I see people upset about this, that, or the other. I mean, I think that we've spent a lot of money in a lot of different random projects around town. And I'm not informed enough to know how much of that I'm going to be paid for and how much of it was grants. And so I'm going to waffle a little bit, but I'm not going to say that I know it well enough to have a really angry opinion about it, because I don't want to
slam your fist on the table.
I don't want to be taxed more. I'll put it that way. I've been taxed enough in a lot of different areas that I don't want to be taxed for just beautification stuff.
Yeah.
I think that business in the private sector can do a lot of good stuff. Some of the stuff you just can't get done without permits and stuff, and I get that. But I think we have a lot of other things in Norfolk that can be worked on and can be fixed. And some of that might just boil down to families have to work better as families, and they'll fix that then helps fix our school programs. And some of that's state related that we can't really do a lot with, and stuff that's being taught or this, that, or the other. But I don't know. It's hard to know.
Gotcha. We can move into the federal questions now.
Sure.
We ask these to everybody that comes on. Now that the election is over, What are you most looking forward to going into the next 4 years?
I'm excited for the hope. I think that, I mean, I'm more hopeful for the next 4 years than I was the last 4 years. I'll put it that way. Within business, within my own business, I really think that in many ways, to some extent, they don't really control my life. And we built a business under administration I don't agree with. I'm more excited that our economy, I think, is going to go and trend in the right direction because Trump, being a business-minded individual, knows how to get that rolling. And the more that they can take restrictions off of that, the better it is for me. So I'm more excited about that. I think it's going to be positive. In one positive note, we were really slow in October leading up to the election, which is unusual because usually October is a good month for us. Day after election results were in, dude, I've never been so busy in my whole life as in
People were
November.
celebrating with furniture.
Oh man, people's wallets opened right up. Like, and it wasn't like sometimes in the store, there's times where I'm just like there and I'm just taking orders. Like it's just the joke is like you're printing money. It's really not. But like there's certain times there that I've got to really help people like decide on something because money's tight. Yeah. And then there's times where they just have money, usually tax season, or farmers getting money in the fall. And so it's kind of that. And so it's like sometimes you're just there and just helping people.
Got to spend it before December 31st.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, as soon as the election was done, oh man, it was bonkers. I had some of the biggest weeks of the year afterwards. Sure. I'm like, this is great. I hope I get more inventory quickly.
That doesn't surprise
So
me.
I am definitely more excited for the next 4 years where we're going.
Good. Do you think that the administration coming in will actually be able to accomplish all that they have set out to do?
I think they have a good chance. And the reason being is I think that, at least from what I've seen, and this may not hold true or not, but Trump doesn't seem to be putting together a cabinet to please people. He seems to be putting together a cabinet of people that are wanting to get stuff done or try to. And I don't think that because he doesn't have to go for a re-election, I don't think that he's going to have to try to pander as much to different areas even within the Republican Party. And so I think because of that, and again, who knows, I think that he's going to get more done. I think that it looks like he's going to have the Senate for most of the time, if not the whole time. House, you never know how that'll go, but I think he's going to knock out some stuff. My hope for him is that he learned a lot in his first term and then learned a lot not being in how to deal with Washington and how to get things through and to work with things and to maybe catch more flies with honey and not vinegar. And so I'm hoping that he can actually accomplish a lot more. Yeah. My worry in all of this is that they're going to pull more shenanigans like a COVID, and that the next 4 years is just going to be one stupid roadblock after another stupid roadblock.
They're putting them in right now. Literally, they're putting the roadblocks in already.
So that's more my concern. And that's concerning to me as a business owner too, because COVID around the first time around wasn't all that much fun. And so if they can throw enough monkey wrenches in there to not make it function, he may not be able to accomplish it whether he wants to or not. And so that's where, I don't know. Again, I'm more hopeful. I'm hoping none of that happens. I'm hedging my bets in other ways. Yeah. So
that's a good answer, though. I like that answer. That's good. Yeah. We're hoping the same thing. So
I've learned to not expect everything. Mm-hmm. I'm just hoping for more this time than last time, which it was still the best 4 years, best 3 years economically and everything like that I've had in my entire time as an adult.
That's what I said. We're making more money now and have less in our pockets.
Mm-hmm. So. Oh, I said that to my accountant the other day. I'm like, man, we're making really good money for 4 years ago.
Where is it?
Like for 4 years ago, this was great money. But with the inflation and stuff and now trying to do a house, I'm like, again, if wishes were horse, we all take a ride. But like, I wish that I'd started this 10 years ago. I was 21. That wasn't going to happen. But like, I wish I could have started this 10 years ago and had the house that we're doing and the project we're doing now done 5 years ago, so that now with this more money, I'd be locked in at a cheaper price that I'd be able to pay. And now I'm trying to get it done at the most expensive time possible, but it is what it is. If I sit on the sidelines and do nothing, I'm not going to get any further ahead anyway.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Now we're at the fun part. Okay. We play a little Would You Rather at the end of the show. Now Vance is going to be mad at me because I used the same ones from the last time we did this, but it's been like 3 weeks. So
sure.
he gets a little upset when I use the same questions. First question. Would you rather live a long life with average experiences or a short life with incredible experiences?
I think short life with a lot of experiences. And I don't know if it's just because my life, even though it has been short, has been a lot of experience. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff, gone a lot of places as a family, done a lot of things. And so because of that, I don't know. I'm excited to keep living. Like I'm
Yeah.
not trying to die, but I also feel like I've lived a fulfilled life to begin with. And I'm going to keep trying to live that way. So
Good. I said the same thing last time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
My credo is always, I'd rather take years off my life and not life off my years.
exactly.
So that's what I live by.
and I'm not that old yet, but I'm starting to feel older. 'Cause
Well,
this is the oldest I've ever
feeling it.
been.
I just turned 39, which is wild to me. Like that used to be really old in my mind. I'm still trying to picture 40s. Like
You're there, buddy.
that's fucking crazy.
I just don't recover like I used to
No,
anymore. I'm like,
no, that's-
working out. I'm like, man, I worked out and then I like did some stuff with like the youth group at church, and we like did like all night marathon thing. My ankles hurt, and that was like 3-4 weeks ago. I'm like, what on earth? Like I'm
How old are you?
stretching them. 31.
31.
So I mean, it's like just starting.
Yeah, you're
but
hitting your
it's like,
downhill slide.
"Grr."
Next one. Would you rather be able to change the past or predict the future?
Probably predict the future. I think, and this kind of goes back to any of the ones where you can predict the future, is you can be profitable if you know what's coming.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I said last time too. But
I don't remember I don't even remember this question. So
see, I told you wouldn't remember them.
that's where people can go back and watch these and they can catch me in different things.
I've
It may
changed my
change.
answer
I'm
before.
thinking. I think I
Actually,
would change the.
I think I said change the past because if you predict the future, yes, you could be profitable, but then you could predict your death and not be able to change it.
Then you know you got a short amount of time. You better live a lot.
Yeah.
Help a lot of people.
Yeah, the death doesn't bother me.
That's just an example.
Part of me wants to change mistakes, but then part of me knows I'm where I'm at because of poor life decisions. So I don't know. Let's go with. So like I don't think anxiety is real, but I think the only time I get anxiety is when I don't know, like I don't have faith in people doing the right thing. But if I had the prediction, if I knew the future, I would know how they're going to go. So I'm not going to have anxiety that way. But what then if I know that they're going to do the wrong
you said
thing?
anxiety isn't real.
I just said, but that's what I think that's the only thing that makes me feel uncomfortable is I don't have faith in people. But then what happens if you know that, like, let's say November 4th, you knew for a fact that Kamala was going to win. Like you just like you just knew, and you're just sitting there, Jesus, we're done. This is over. Like I think that would be worse. I'm going to go ahead and change the past. I think that's what I want to do there. I'm just thinking about that. That would be miserable.
If you could change the past, though, this is where it kind of comes into what I said. Like if I could have started this business 5-10 years ago, knowing what I know now, or even, and I think that's always the thing is like, hey, sports. If I knew what I know now as an athlete and could go back and put that into younger me, I'd be a better athlete or whatever, or have worked harder or something like that. There's always that. Or like even like, hey, if I knew that COVID and land prices and house prices were going to go absolutely ridiculous, I'd have turned into a flipper or something like that where you could have done
I would have bought Bitcoin.
Technically, this
Is that
might
still looking forward?
blow your mind. If you can change the past, aren't you somewhat predicting the future once you get there?
You're changing the future. But, well, no, you're just changing your present. So if you change the past, you've changed your present.
You then had predicted the future once you get there.
I guess it limits how much you get to know, but that expands the question.
I mean, maybe. This is a deep physics, quantum physics going on right here.
Okay, we'll move on. That's not this kind of podcast. Would you rather lose all of your memories or lose the ability to make new memories? This is a tough one. This might be wasn't this the one that we all said was like the toughest one we've ever asked?
If you don't get to remember your new memories, though, it kind of is a moot point. I'm going to assume that you can. Like, you just don't know nothing now, but then you can make it go forward.
Mm-hmm. But then you can make, if you choose the other way, you can't make any new ones.
Yeah, you're just stuck with whatever you remember now. And it's almost like the dementia question or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the hard thing about going, I almost would take the not being able to do any more, because I almost wonder if being able to make more changes so much about you anyway. Because if you don't remember any of the past and you're just starting over now, you're kind of just fresh to whatever starts blowing your way.
Right.
And I think I like more of what I remember in the past than like just the uncertainty of it being like, oh, well, you know what? The world outlook right now is kind of crummy. So if all your memories are coming forward and not back, that might be, I don't know.
That you might wake up from this and someone says, you are a Democrat and you believe them.
Right. If you have no ability to learn any old memories,
then they would speak, and I think I'm gonna realize there's just no way that would have worked for the old Vance.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to keep my memories on this one.
I'm gonna keep my memories.
Is that what you're choosing too?
Yep.
Okay. Would you rather listen to one song the rest of your life or never be allowed to listen to the same song twice?
Never listen to the same song twice.
That's what I chose.
The same song over and over. I had a toddler that's now a 5-year-old, and I have some more, and I've listened to a lot of the same songs a lot of times.
Baby.
Oh man.
That's way harder than that's harder than the memory one, I think.
I know what you chose.
I don't remember what I chose, but
this was easy for you last time.
Mm-hmm.
I love music so much that I would never not want to hear new songs.
I think it's also like we've become accustomed to, even on our phones, the doom scrolling that we do.
Yeah.
Part of that is like most of the time we don't see the same video twice, ever. But we're ready for that next little one that we hear. So it's always that newness of, even in music, you're like, hey, this next song could be the one. I may never get to hear it again, but this one could be really, really cool.
Right.
And I'm going to enjoy it and savor it while I've got it that I'm listening to.
Right.
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't want to not hear a song. I don't fucking know. I don't want to answer this question. I don't.
What song would you listen to over and over and over again that would never get old? See, that's the
thing. Right now, maybe 2 weeks ago when we did this before,
it'd be a different song.
You're like, no, you went with the twice thing. Never listened to it twice.
Yeah,
and it was almost instant. Maybe you weren't thinking that night.
Well, psychological warfare in the military is like playing really annoying noises or the same thing over and over until they go mad.
But I'm reading this question as I can pick whichever song I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick whatever song I want to listen to. So I don't see it's going to be psychological problem because I do that already. Like I'll find myself when I get a new song, I want to listen to that song over and over and over and over and over and over and over. That's what I do. So like not being able to hear it twice would suck.
I'm that way too though, but then you can never listen to a new song ever again.
There's a lot of shitty new artists out there, so I think I'm gonna spend a long period of time and figure out what song I'm gonna listen to for the rest of my life. I'm changing my mind. This is where I'm going.
You're like, I want to wait on this decision until I'm 70 and then pick the last song that I'm gonna hear forever.
Yeah.
And ever, once I've heard everything else.
No, I'd do it right now.
He's also kind of a flavor of the week.
When I find a song though, I listen to it till I'm almost sick of it, and then I won't listen to it for like a year or two later. Too. So,
the next one's really easy. Vance will know right away. Would you rather have no internet or no cell phone?
No cell phone.
That's what I went with.
There's too many ways to get on the internet now that would be weird to not have it now.
Mm-hmm.
And we would love to get away from my cell phone.
Yeah, because we went into the concept of we grew up. Well, I'm assuming you're with a time with no cell phones.
Yeah, I was 18 before I had one.
Yeah, so I mean, but I also said it doesn't mean there isn't technology that somebody could get you on a watch or something that you could still have it mobile. Because I think you brought up the fact of being out on the farm and not being able to call or something for an emergency. But I think I brought up something like Life Alert. You could push a button.
Yeah,
technology would still be around with the internet. You just wouldn't have the cell phone in your pocket.
Not everybody can reach you at all times.
Right. Which I think would be amazing.
I mean, most of civilization got around without both of them. So, I mean,
It's
doable.
Right. It's definitely doable. Would you rather eat fast food every day or never eat at any restaurant again?
When we were trying to gain support to go to Israel, we ate fast food nearly every day. So I've kind of done that lifestyle for a bit. That's probably the easier route, I'd say. It'd be easier to eat fast food all the time because it's just simple and you really don't get too sick of it if you can choose variety of restaurants. So you'd never get sick of it. From like, hey, I'd like to feel better as a person, I should pick never go out to eat again would probably be the best scenario.
That's the route I took.
Ever. So I'm telling the smart choice is that one. The one that I probably would pick is probably the other, just because.
Fast food.
Though, like, through like, and I don't know if it's just an anxiety thing that I deal with or something like that, but I've kind of gotten some stuff where it's like my stomach just cannot take the fatty foods anymore.
Yeah.
And
I'm right
so
there with
like I need to not eat out. Otherwise I feel like garbage all the time. And lactose, I never was lactose intolerant until like last couple of years, which is really weird. And so because of that, it's like I just have to be careful with dairy or like certain dairy of whatever. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm gonna do the fast food because I love different restaurants, and we made the rule. I think we kind of chose that we could, like, there. It doesn't say you have to eat it all the time. Like, you just have to eat a fast food item
Every day. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sure.
I'm thinking I'm gonna go get a quick fast food little breakfast, Sammy, and then maybe so I could have a fast food break. I could have a McDonald's steak, egg, and cheese bagel every single day for the rest of my life, and then every once in a while I could go to a new restaurant.
Yeah.
I've been looking at like the carnivore diet just a little bit to see, because sometimes I can help with gut stuff and all that. And one of the things that some of those guys do is they'll actually go to like a McDonald's on occasion. You know, they don't want to
I've
always
seen
prepare
that.
it, but they'll just like, okay, I want 4 quarter-pounder burgers only and
Yeah.
cheese on top. And
Can I
that's
get
it.
20 patties, please?
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? If
With
you could pull
cheese.
that off with the fast
Yeah.
food, you know,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
That would work. Would you rather always speak your mind or never speak again?
One would get me in less trouble.
Obviously.
Obviously. I think I'd rather always speak my mind.
Yeah, that's what I went with.
And,
Don't care if it gets me in trouble. I kind of somewhat a little bit already do that. There might be a few times where it'd probably get me in trouble, but
if I was intelligent enough to then try to train myself or like learn to be a kind individual, or like continue to try to be a kind individual, at least if you spoke your mind all the time and it was in a positive manner versus just I'm going to tear everyone down and I don't really care. I think there's a little bit of difference in that too, because speaking your mind isn't being a jerk all the time. Sometimes it's to just telling people what they need to hear.
right. Or you just start every sentence with no offense, but
I feel like I'd have to walk away from a lot of conversations just all the time.
but you'd have to be speaking it as you walked away.
Right. I'd just be running all the time away from people. Well, and like in the business, like that would be really hard in business, though.
Right.
Like sales too, because like people are going to tell you their opinion right away on stuff. Like, let's just say
Yeah.
memory foam or hybrid mattress. Like, oh, memory foam's the worst thing ever. It's like, no, it's really not. But like, I might like partially agree with you just because it's not the best thing for you. But if I
Right.
had to tell you the whole, I'd also be in conversations forever because I'd be like,
Right.
okay, well, here's this, this, and this, and this is why this like, oh, that'd be so boring too. People would leave the conversation. I wouldn't even have to get
Yeah,
into
right.
it. So
What about you on that one?
Speak my mind.
Yeah. Would you rather be able to speak all languages fluently or be a master of every musical instrument?
having lived in an area where I couldn't speak to anyone and it was really tough, I would use that one. Being able to speak every language, that would be really, like, I love playing music. I play the guitar. I love playing music, and doing that. And even like at church, I lead songs and do all that type of stuff. So I love music, but I would rather be able to speak to everyone. That's just, it's so nice. And like, I'd love to travel a lot more. And some of that not wanting to travel is just because, you know, it's
Not
just
knowing
a
the language.
pain in the butt to try to get around. And even in the store, when I'm trying to help someone that's only speaks Spanish and we're using a photo translate, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Becca laughs at me because I'll get done with like trying to help someone to find a mattress in Spanish, and I'm just drained afterwards. Like, they better be my last person of the day because the next person's
Well,
getting
some of those
exhausted
tools
me.
don't work the greatest either, like the translate tools. Yeah.
No. I think I heard your guys' conversation about that with Nick. Yeah, just being irritated
We
with
went
that.
off. I think we talked for like 20 minutes on that.
Really? On this same question?
Uber Eats type
Language.
stuff.
You were. it was your DoorDash story,
DoorDash export experiences.
and then
Yeah.
Nick went off too. So that was a fun
I'm
conversation.
definitely going to go with the speaking every languages.
Yeah, I think I went with musical instruments last time just because I love music, and I think it'd be great to be able to play them all.
If you never wanted to leave the country,
And I don't, so it's perfect.
then I would actually pick the instrument one too, because I mean the world does speak English. That was the hard thing about trying to learn another language overseas is everyone wants to practice their English on you, and no one wants to hear you screw up their language multiple
Right.
times like a 5 or like a 2-year-old
Right.
speaking.
Would you rather have a photographic memory or the ability to forget any painful memory instantly? I can't remember what I answered on this one. I have an idea, but
I think initially I'd say that get rid of all the painful stuff. The hard part is that that's what kind of shapes you to who you are.
I think that's why I took that route. But
Yeah.
or the other route, the photographic.
There's been something that I've been just like, it's been in the books type of stuff that I've read over the last couple of years. It's just do hard things. Like not do dumb things, but like do difficult things and put yourself in hardship and put your body in hardship and do difficult things so that you can get through difficulties and grow on the other side. Because you won't grow unless you have difficult times. I don't know if that's quite the same as painful or hurtful times, but I kind of would hate to get rid of that because it shapes you who you are.
Yeah, I like that. I think doing the photographic memory is the way I'd go.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep the. I'm gonna keep the. I was trying to remember the question, but yeah, I'm gonna keep the painful memories.
All right, last one. Would you rather not be able to speak for a month, or have to speak every thought that comes to your mind for a week?
I think I'd rather not speak for a month.
It's very simple for me. Yeah, that's 100%. I'm gonna go a month.
A month?
Because we talked about the like I couldn't not speak forever because that would be torture for me. But
Yeah.
I can go through a month because the 1 week of oh my god, now I don't know. Yeah, 1 week. If it's if it's a random week where I'm not paying attention to news, maybe it's not a bad thing. Just whatever comes to my head comes to my head.
I was kind of going that route. Like I could kind of not be around certain things if I didn't want to.
Oh yeah, we talked about like you basically lock yourself in a basement for a week. Yeah,
Go on a second honeymoon.
Yeah, because then who cares? Nobody hears what I say.
Right. That's what I
All right,
said.
I might go back that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
I
that
say if
one
I get to
again.
pick the week, definitely
pick the
that
week,
one.
lock yourself in
Yeah,
a
just
way.
lock yourself in a room for a week.
'Cause I'd much rather do that than have to not speak for a month.
A month
That'd
is
be
a long
rough.
time. But a month is a lot better than a year or your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Like where the other question was
Yeah.
something about your whole life, never speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're back to the week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the week.
Is that where
If I
you're?
get to pick the week, yes.
All right. All right.
Yeah, we made that rule.
Which
I
is
forgot
a
we made
random
that
week?
rule
No.
last week.
So we kind of interpret these questions
Yeah.
how we want to match the answer.
Oh, yeah.
Basically. So that's kind of all we got. It's been a good show.
I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed having you. This has been a fun conversation. Tell the people where they can find you at.
So I do Facebook primarily. That's our big thing. It's BoxDrop Norfolk on Facebook. That's the big push. We do have a website. It's more just a landing page to help you get in conversation with me. I really like to have conversations with people before they come to the store, if at all possible. Please come in. I have no problem doing that. But if I can have that conversation, we can kind of try to find out what you're needing and save you time so that you're not in there forever and we're trying to get it all sorted. So if we can get an idea of what you're looking for, we might even be able to save you the trip, say, hey, I just don't have it right now. Or, hey, it's coming in next week. Come check us out next week or whatnot. So love having the conversation beforehand. Call me, text me, Facebook.
I will say it will save you a lot of time reaching out to you ahead of time.
Yeah.
If you know what you want anyway.
Yep, exactly. Because I can give you a better answer if you know what you're looking for one way or the other. I always like to have people in the store, though, so that we can kind of show them. Because especially with furniture, it's based on the size of your space.
Right.
But sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And there might be a piece that's just the best one ever that we didn't discuss before you come. So come anyway.
Yep, definitely. Do you have to know what the address is?
For the email?
The address for the location.
We're at 1314 South Elkhorn Street.
Okay.
Norfolk, Big Red Building at the end of Elkhorn
There
Street.
you go.
That's the easiest
That's all
way
you
to
gotta
find
do.
it. Big Red Building.
East side of town.
Yep.
They're good. Well, thanks to my co-host Vance Neidig. Without him, the show would not be what it is. Huge thanks to Nate Armstead. Really appreciate you making time for us today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
We'll have to have you back on sometime.
It'll be fun.
It's a lot of fun. You have to come on Useless maybe.
Yeah. that'd
Hang
be
out and
fun.
have some political conversation.
Oh, I love giving my opinion.
Perfect. Well, keep the lookout for more great episodes, and we'll see you guys next week.